Coming up on this episode of The Brain Drain Show.
The industry as a whole, I don't think it's changed much. I think it's always been a lot of brands, a lot of product, and a bit of show. Hear a loud bang and look outside and there's just like blood on the wall, people screaming and stuff, and you're like, what the It took me about a year to backheel Lloyds, like just constantly, like every single weekend. I'm older, I've sort of gone, it's a bit weird sitting in your own net. This book is about time travel through portals in Russia. It's insane. I want to have a shop that was like what 50/50 was like to me. They just were left to like rot there for years. I think skateboarding's a thing now. It's not to be found. It's a big thing. Have you ever seen Don't F*** with Cats? I think the perception is that Keen has bought Slam. It's the same deal with Lost Art as it is to Slam, whereas it's not Keen, it's myself, Lloyd and Mike. Lost Art's Mackie, like whether you like it or not, like wear eye patch and stuff like this. They tried to do everything they could so it would get better, but just wasn't. And then Rich had obviously filmed for this video and called it Skateboard Cafe, and then obviously it evolved from this sort of scene video to being the brand that is now. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel. That's just from being a and having a triangle shaped face. I just don't like going to sleep. I find it weird going and lying down and just having like, you know, just closing my eyes and being there like that. I just find it odd. So there is an absolute banging cake. It gives you the big time.
Good evening, welcome to another great episode of The Brain Drain Show with me, Forde Brookfield. Joined to my left is my trusty co-host Toby Batchelor. And Toby, who's the special guest on the show today?
It is Andy Makepeace.
Round of applause in the studio with your audience, please, for Andrew Makepeace.
Big ups.
That was
kid's little bracelet there.
That was
I've got one as well.
Have you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Haven't you got two kids, haven't you?
Yeah.
Are they really into the bracelet thing?
Oh, do you know what? It's just this weekend. They go on like a mad binge. Where
Yeah.
They, like bracelet everything. And next.
Yeah, my lad was going through it for a bit. He's really into the Posca marker pens at the minute.
Oh, nice.
Just doing big.
Yeah.
You can get these ones called, bit of a random tangent.
If you drew a cock with any of them yet?
I haven't, no.
Toby owns a company called Quick Dicks, where you can draw dicks really quick.
I don't own that company, but I can.
That's what French said, Quick Dicks.
There's ones, oh fucking hell, they're called like, can you Google this? Posca bloppers or something like that. They're like really big, they got big, they look so fun, like really expensive.
They were the flat.
No, they come in like almost like a trigger thing. There you go, look, what are they called?
Oh, yeah.
What are they called?
Blooper.
Blooper.
Bloopers.
Loopers.
Bloopers.
Oh no, anyway,
Nice.
yeah. Posca markers, fucking expensive.
Yeah,
At Christmas, he just spent all his money on those. He's got fucking thousands.
Fair play.
Right.
Straight in with the Posca dance.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It's a bit of sick dad chat.
Yeah, sorry. It just came out and I was like, oh, that's a bit of a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Worky
one. Should we start from the beginning?
I don't know why you ask this every time,
Come on then.
because we always do.
Whereabouts you originally from?
From a little town outside of Bristol called Patchway.
Patchway.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Is it
It's,
nice?
It's a place. It's it's a funny place to grow up, man. It's like the Wild West. It's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, it's just
How far out of
great
Bristol
little
is it?
town. It's literally on the you can't really get much further. It's just
Yeah.
you're into the fields if you go much further. But yeah, it was a not a council estate, but kind of like that. You know, it's trouble, but the best. I wouldn't want my kids to go up there, but I loved it. I love growing.
I love growing up on a council estate.
Yeah, it's
Are you proper council?
Yeah. Bronson, born and bred, strong in the arm and fucked in the head. That was that was the motto. That Mike Simons will big me up. Although when I grew up it was thick in the head and Mike's like, no, it was fucked in the head, because he lived the other side of Bronson, also in like a new build council estate as well. But yeah, that's the crest. Everyone's got it above their doors.
Yeah. Nice. Classy.
What that saying?
That quite everyone's
doors?
got it in the bricks, yeah, the doors,
hell.
like little flags.
But yeah, it was a really nice place, man. To grow up is fun, you know. That's what you want, isn't it? You know, when you're growing up, that's what it's all about. But and my parents still live there. I go back there. I love it, you know. But yeah, it's a really, really fun place.
Is that where you discover skateboarding?
Kind of, yeah. So sort of going to school, one of my mates had a skateboard and he was just like, you know, we didn't really know you could do tricks or anything. It was just like, you know, you sort of just push around on it. And I sort of, you know, just enjoyed doing that. I was you know, my life was football, like non-stop until about sort of 14. And then my mate had a skateboard, and when you're sort of playing football and going through that sort of thing and you get to 14, my mates who were playing football kind of started to be like, kind of
Dicks?
discovered, yeah, but
Absolute dicks.
I mean, I'm a dick as well, so it's fine. But like they, you know, you sort of phase out of football and they'll get involved in other things. But I still wanted to knock about playing football every night or do whatever. And so, you know, my mate had a skateboard and he was carried on wanting to be a kid basically. So I was like, right, great, let's play with this and get involved in this. So yeah, he sort of just picked up the skateboard and just pushed around, like not doing tricks or anything. And literally thought he invented the kickflip. It was like dead. Like he was it. And then sort of found sort of skate videos and stuff like that after a while, you know. But
so you started quite late then?
About 98. But where I grew up, it was quite sheltered. It was quite out of the city. You're not, you know, you're not seeing people skating in the street. You know, we wouldn't go into Bristol, into the city centre or anything. It was literally like fields there, like big field that got turned into a shopping like
complex
thing there, and then the other side was just rows of houses, you know, so you wouldn't really see anything. And then eventually sort of just ventured into town a little bit and saw some people skating and was like, whoa, you know, this is a whole fucking world basically.
People exist.
You know, you'd go from literally just pushing around, like there's a big like long street where my friend lived, like Filton Avenue is called, and we'd just push up and down there, like it was just straight line, and you'd rock your front truck up and then rock your back truck up, and that was like and that was it. And then we went to, I think me and my sister were going to get like roller boots or something like that, like the Bauer Turbo Classics, and had to go to Roller Mania, classic, and sort of realised like, oh shit, this whole skateboarding thing is like, it's a thing. You can, you know, and just, you know,
can you remember what the first boards were on the wall when you went in there the first time?
Not the first time. The first time I was literally like, you know, what is this? That was the main thing. Is like, wow, what the fuck? But then after, when I sort of like went back and got my sort of first proper setup, it would have probably been, I guess, maybe Flip and sort of World and stuff like that. And that would have been the ones. So
like 99, 2000 around that sort of time.
Yeah. Just sort of as THPS was, yeah. And then as soon as you get into that world, it's, you know, that whole thing was just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I can still remember my first purchase, my first independent purchase. It was great from Tim's skate shop. I don't even know if Tim was in there at the time. He might have been working here. I traded a bunch of PlayStation games for a metal, like detachable Bam Margera Element belt buckle.
I can still see you wearing that, to be honest, mate.
Like it was silver.
He would,
like,
if he had one. He'd rock that.
Yeah, and I can remember I was really annoyed because I was like, shit, I want people to see it. So you tuck in like the front of your t-shirt and just kind of stand there like, his name's Bam. That was my first legit. Like, I just wish I could go back to that early discovery of it though. Yeah, because it was just amazing.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny, like around that sort of time, late 90s, 2000s, like those big brands like Flip, and Girl and Zero, I guess, and they were really like, they must have been selling a lot of boards around that time. I'd love to know at the height of Flip, like how many boards were being sold.
It must have been insane. I think my first sort of proper vid was the Zoo ones. I think that was
nice.
That was like the ones that were like the, you know, that was my first sort of like brand where I was like, fuck.
That's unusual. Normally people say, you know, around that era will be like Sorry and all those kind of ones. But...
yeah, I wasn't really my thing. I think, you know, a lot of people naturally would, because like Riley is, you know, amazing, and the whole thing that they had was Sorry, but I just didn't really, it wasn't really like my, you know, when you know you all gravitate towards something. It just wasn't really my thing. I think I've sort of looked at the Zoo videos and was like, yeah, that's, you know, that was what skateboarding was to me, kind of thing. But you know, still amazing. You know, Sorry, I'm not shitting on Sorry. It's amazing. But
what was your first video that you bought that you remember? It would have been like,
well, actually
public domain.
Public domain was the first skate video I saw, but I didn't buy it. It was a bootleg copy, VHS.
I got this weird 3-pack that was Animal Chin, randomly enough. The Dark Star video, was it like Battle Lion or something?
Battalion.
Battalion. I thought it was Battle Lion.
Those were going around for a while. Those like weird video packs where it was just
And then
I'll tell you what it was.
Elementality Volume 1, that was a 3-pack.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't in a box set, it was like self-shrink
yeah,
wrapped.
yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
So
He's got something.
around that time, there was
Battle Lion.
Dark Star Battle Lion. Fucking hell, we need to.
Hints and
Battle
parts.
Lion's kind of a sick name.
Yeah, there was a company that. So when things were changed from VHS to DVD, there was a company in France called Extreme. I think
Sports.
it was Extreme Video, and they were like the distributor for anything action sports videos. So they for some reason, I think it was.
They shit their pants and they wanted to get rid of it.
So they
all.
probably had excess stock, and they were like, right, let's ship free. You know.
Yeah.
Because no one else I've mentioned that to has ever remembered that, like random skate videos in packets, and all the labels on the videos, that Extreme Video, were all green with a snake on it. I've got a load of those.
Yeah.
Actually.
Free.
I might be wrong.
At the time, it was just with no relation to each other. You could get a black label video and a whatever, like RDS fucking video.
Yeah,
in
I just
one
remember
thing.
getting that 3-packs. It was like great value for money, like 15 quid or something. I was like, fuck it.
Let's go.
Yeah, because DVDs used to cost money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was those guys doing it because they had licensing agreements with all the brands as well. I think for a time they were doing 4-on-1 as well.
Yeah,
probably. I've got a couple of videos on Extreme Video, and the labels just I know the label color and everything.
But they definitely did 4-on-1. So I remember one of the packs was the issue 60. And I think that was a big thing. Was it? I can't remember. It was either like Musk or Stevie on the front.
Was that your first 4-on-1 you saw?
No. But that was like, but I just remember that being like, whoa, that's in a fucking video pack for 10 quid or whatever it was. I was like, I'm getting that.
I think I even know the cover of that for it's the Musk one. He's got the hat, the glasses, and the boombox on the cover.
Classic.
Yeah, that was issue 60, I think. And then 61 was the BAM issue, obviously.
For fuck's sake.
There he goes.
First 10 minutes, he's already mentioned BAM twice. You want to stick in the third one in there?
BAM.
Have you seen the new Grind King trucks coming out?
Here he goes.
Have you
fucking loved Grind Kings, dude.
But have you seen the new ones coming out?
I've seen that they've got those little.
Looks fucking weird. They don't look like skateboard trucks.
Are we getting any in?
I don't know. We haven't put an episode out where we were talking about them. Who is it we were talking about?
We were talking about them with French.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we used to run Grind King, man. Me, Korahn, Ashley Skidmore.
Yeah.
You know Ashley? I know.
I know the name. I've never met him. I've never met Korahn.
Because you were talking about the axles on them, weren't you?
Yeah.
Is that what you and French were saying? You replaced the axles on them because they were live.
I'm sure it is Monster. It's not a Creeper. Creeper is a separate offshoot of Grind King.
Yeah, that's why I was like, when Grind King went, there was loads of like sail destruct creepers around, and I was like, do I go to these creeper things? Or
they look fucking
just because
awful.
they're Grind.
There's people who collect them now.
Grind King. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
So who was your early crew then? You started like properly skating with, and how did?
Well, when you ventured into Bristol,
did you like stop playing football, and was it like full pelt skateboarding?
No, I mean, I've never stopped. I played on Saturday. I've played twice a week, so I never put that down.
I've got just zero football bants.
Brilliant.
Chat. I take my boy to football on Thursday nights. All the football dads are there, and they try to talk to me. And
I've never played football.
I've just got nothing.
Seen that episode of Peep Show where he's
yeah. I did go out on Sunday with Rex, and we did do some kickabouts.
Have you played?
I can kick the ball hard.
You've got excellent
right in the
control.
goal hole. Right that's it.
Boot it in the air.
Toby's known for his incredible ball control.
I don't sound disrespectful, but I've got no football.
No, I mean, I do.
I only watch it when England or someone are winning, so I can glory support.
So never put it down. Always kind of kept with it, but like when I was growing up, you sort of get to under 16 sort of level football, and then it sort of turns into men's football. And back then, it was sort of like if you put a 16-year-old in an adults game, you're just going to get fucking booted around. So I sort of just gravitated a little bit more towards skateboarding for a couple of years, and then sort of found a crew that sort of skated and played football as well. But early crew was like the sort of Patchway crew, and then who I sort of grew up skating with. One of them had a Zoo York tattoo. Lived it.
So sick. Was it the actual Zoo York, or was it the logo?
It's the tag. Yeah, it was the tag.
Amazing.
It's just.
You've seen how shit Zoo York is now. Did you see that a couple of months ago? They were like posting stuff.
They had adverts in
Oh, it was
Manchester at the
fucking
skate
They
park.
awful.
they actually sent me a couple of boards because I was like even now I'm just like I want it to be just
good.
You know, going back to what I was saying,
Yeah.
like I just
Just
that
had the
was
black board
everything,
with the
you know,
white
and-
tag on it.
yeah,
amazing.
like just you know they're so you know appreciate them. Fucking send me
won't
a
talk
couple
shit
out.
on
Yeah,
them.
no, I mean, I'm happy to, but also I just think like just for me, just iconic purposes, you know, I'm just and if you look at all those brands who've sort of come about and turned into a complete brand, it's all shit, but like you know, I still look back with nostalgia on them. Do you know what I mean?
They just did a post on Instagram, and it was somebody who obviously
right.
wasn't a very good
You're gonna kill it for
skateboarder
me now. Go on.
in a skate park,
Yeah.
and the tagline was "out in the streets,"
Right,
and I was
yeah,
just
fair.
like, "Well, you're in a skate
Yeah.
park for a start, and that
Yeah.
trick is like a 50-50 that is obviously a bail because their foot's hanging off the front or some shit."
Out in the
It was
streets.
like so bad, and the comments were amazing.
Initial crew, sort of my Patchway crew, Zuyot tattoo, and then
yeah.
after that, we sort of started venturing into the centre of Bristol a little bit, and that's where I sort of bumped into obviously Korahn and Louis Marshall and
Oh yeah,
a few of those boys and stuff, and they would sort of, you know, knock off school and linger around 50 and stuff like that, and skate College Green, Lloyds, and it was just sort of, you know, you never really had to call anyone. You
you knew where they'd be.
you just go to College
Yeah.
Green and Lloyds, and that's where
Yeah.
you know everyone would just be there. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bristol's always had a good scene, hasn't it? But I mean,
Yeah.
So
around
it's
that
had a very
time,
high standard of skateboarding.
yeah, like
It's
that. I
always
guess
been
you're
really
talking
amazing.
like early 2000s, mid 2000s. That was
Yeah.
really like when Wainwright was still and Flynn Trotman, all those
Yeah,
guys.
that's-
like
I mean,
50,
Flynn
50
was- Danny's amazing. I love him to bits. But Flynn was always like I would always hill flip, you know, guy. So I was like Flynn, Zach Pitter,
Yeah.
because he was, you know, he's probably my age or younger, but you know, he was just levels ahead. He's, you know, so good. Him, Flynn, Steve and Paul Alexander.
Yeah,
I
You know,
would-
those guys I used to look up
was
to. Those
Crawley
guys so
around
much.
then as well? Tim Crawley.
Crawley, yeah, but I didn't really know him till later. You know, I think he was sort of like in with sort of the Osiris side of things, and I think at that
That's right,
time,
because
there was-
at that
Yeah,
time
it
in
was.
Bristol, it was sort of like because Osiris put a shop on, you know, 50 yards away from 50. So if you were anything to 50, you're like, oh, I can't go near the shot. You know, fuck, Osiris was the big thing.
Yeah.
was the
But
board-
ironically, there was a massive Osiris tour, and everyone went. It was like, fucking, let's go! Like, but yeah, it was
Was that I think that was just the Osiris tour that came up here as well.
yeah, it
Went
would have
to-
been the big one. Yeah,
I just remember Stu Graham being outside wearing D3s and showing me he got his chest pierced. I
yeah.
was just like, okay.
We'll get on to Bristol more. But
Yeah.
I
Hang
was,
on, can
I
I
was
just-
gonna
Can I-
ask.
just before I lose the thought, because Matt Law had the distribution down there at that point doing Osiris, didn't he?
Yeah.
What was the board brand that they had as well?
Minute,
That's it, Minute Skateboard. Do you
minute,
remember that?
yeah.
No, I
Never
don't
had
think
one,
so.
but I
No.
think Crawley was on that. I think maybe one of the
That's
Alexanders
what
on
got
it
me
as well.
thinking.
Yeah,
I think
no,
he was doing video stuff.
I always
for-
quite liked it because it was in the Osiris shop. I was like, oh, I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
you know, it's 50. I can't really.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't
know,
really fuck with it.
Yeah, I can't really go into that, but I did like it, and I didn't ever really meet Tim until much later on, to be honest. But
Yeah,
it's
I
really
forgot
nice
about
dude.
that
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
But how's it going to Bristol and seeing those guys skating? Because they were
I mean,
they were like the top.
Yeah,
The top dudes.
Like I said, you come from somewhere where you just think skateboarding's pushing around, and then you come in and you see, you know, that all within the space of like, you know, 2 years. You sort of like meet
Yeah.
all these people, see all that sort of thing. It was mind blowing at the time, and then, you know, even now I look back and I think like, what, you know, I know Bristol's still got a big scene, but like back then you're like looking through it and the people who were there and what they were doing. Like, I think it was Paul. There's two, you know, the bench at College Green, everyone ollies them and stuff like that. There's at the top of Park Street, there's two of the benches, and he just ollies over both of them. Like, and there's a gap in the middle. It's not like it's like, you know, propped up right next to each other. It's
Yeah.
straight over both of them, and just it was just wild. It was absolutely wild at that time with how good those guys were.
Yeah, the
that
level
sort
of
older
skating
group. Yeah,
from
Carter
Bristol.
as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's incredible. Like, and you know, he sort of like obviously dropped off, went to Canada for a long time, but you know, it's still absolutely smashed it before he left, and
He's
yeah, it
still
was
at it now, isn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, he's, you know, still killing it. It's still actually, and sometimes some of the clips that I see, I'm like, you're probably as good as, if not better, in some of the ways, you know.
There's a few skaters like that are like fine wine.
Yeah.
Like Moggins is another one. He just seems
Moggins,
to get
Ronnie,
Ronnie
they're
Callow,
both
Moggins.
always
They just,
on.
seem
Ronnie,
to,
fuck
they just
me.
seem to get better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I look at him and every time I see him, something pop up, I'm like, I need to check that out. I need to check that out.
Yeah, he's always
amazing.
skating somewhere, even if it's like rubbly piece of
Fair
shit.
fucking
He's always
play to the
doing
dude, yeah.
something.
Like you as well. You're like fine wine, aren't you?
Ah, nowhere near. Nowhere near. My body's falling apart rapidly. I can barely stand up on a board. But so around that time, obviously with the, say like the older lot, so I assume they were a couple of years older. Like how old's Korahn? Because surely he was younger than them.
He's younger, yeah.
But he was still on par skating with them at that time, or was he coming up?
He not like, just to be honest, not at that time. Not when I met him. No, but you could tell, like, not in a disrespectful way to the older guys, but you could just tell that he was, it was just that course was set, and it was just going to be, he would be overtaking them in 2 years because his mind. I just feel like his mind works in a different way with it. It's just like, okay, cool. He would be practicing a trick on flat and then practicing it off second, and then it would be going down Lloyds within like a week. And that was just like to see that, you're just like, okay, yeah, that's different.
Yeah, it's fucking incredible.
He's always been so good, isn't he? Like, yeah, another one. I mean, he's still killing it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one where I think he won't mind me saying this, but like definitely got better with age. Like back, or maybe it's just where when we were younger, you sort of, if someone would take their foot off the board, that would just go in. Whereas now it's not, he's definitely his control. He was, when in his early video parts, just absolutely wild, and it was fucking brilliant to see. But now it's just so controlled. Like,
his style's amazing. He looks amazing on a board, doesn't he? Like, he just looks good. When I watch footage of him, it's like one of those when you watch it and you're like, fuck, I wish that I could look that good on a board.
Yeah.
Big up Korahn, he's fucking sick.
Yeah, I've always been a fan. Hopefully it will come on one day.
Yeah, hopefully if you listen to this, Korahn, we can nerd out.
I can tell him my story about when I saw him that time.
Do you want to...
I'll tell it, but don't put it in because I don't want Korahn to potentially hear this and then not... I want to get
put
his
it
reaction.
in. He'll get
No, because it's good.
It's going to go in. It's going to go in. It's going in. So before you say it, it's going in.
Okay. I was on the Plan B tour and it was Danny Way, Colin McKay, Pat Duffy, PJ, Ryan Gallant, and... Gallant. Pat Duffy. Anyway, we were staying in this hotel in Kensington. It was like a brand new Premier Inn, and I got up early and doing my usual walking around, staring and stuff. And I was sat in reception, and then I was like, just minding my own business. And then Korahn comes down and sits on the sofa, and I was like, oh, that's Korahn. He had a Crooked t-shirt on at the time, so he's on flow for then. And then the Plan B guys start coming down one by one, and I see him like. I think Colin McKay came down and I saw him go, like, just checking out all the pro. He's one by one, the whole Plan B team. And he's there going, and he's on his own. And he's just losing his mind. He's like, fuck, what's going on here? And the whole Plan B team was suddenly like disappearing in front of him. And he's there like going, what the fuck? Like losing his mind.
Yeah.
And I was just watching it all happen.
I wonder why he was at that hotel.
I don't know. I guess he was in town filming or something. But it was just funny watching him lose his mind of just all this happening in front of him. Yeah. Danny Way coming down. He was like, you could see him mouthing to himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, he probably doesn't remember, but there you go.
You do. It's an important story.
It's just funny just watching it as watching this whole thing play out when I'm just there going, it's quite funny. Anyway, where do you want to go to next? Getting sponsored.
Well, he was kind of talking about skating in Bristol. So yeah, what followed after that?
So that's when I guess sort of you go.
Did you ride for 50-50 and stuff like that?
No, not really. Like, I just sort of was around, like, always around the shop, and I, growing up on the outskirts, always sort of looked in and would come in. I ended up, doing, not like working there full time or anything, but ended up pulling a couple of shifts, moonlighting, a couple of shifts when they need it and stuff like that. And never ever really rode for the shop, but I'd always there's never really a question. I don't think I was ever really like good enough at skating to be riding for like 50 or whatever, but I'd sort of just be around it all the time, and it was just, that was the hub, that was where you go, if you're in the centre, that's it kind of is just part and parcel of the day-to-day life, whether you're on 50 or not. It's like you're part of the family, and
it's like an important meeting place.
It's it was like everything, to be honest. If that wasn't there, I don't think you've got people like Korahn, and who are in the positions they are now, and a lot of people off the back of 50 is that you wouldn't actually, if that shop wasn't there, the brands wouldn't have been interested in these people, you know, because if all this footage is going into the ether, there's no product sale, they wouldn't have been hooking up these people, you know, and so 50 kind of was the epicenter for the whole thing, really, you know. But yeah, and so I never rode for it, but just sort of always around it. And obviously around that time was when Louis Gain and George Nevin, they're the sort of two filmers for Bristol and Bloom. Well, Bristol and Bloom was Louis, and then George Nevin came around, and those guys just, you know, they actually, you know, took it to another level, really, by putting those videos and the edits out and the content that was coming through those guys. And then, you know, Leo started coming into town quite a lot, and that's when, you know, we probably even lived there, I can't even remember, but he was sort of like really behind a lot of that. And yeah, so the shop and Louis and George and Leo, that combination just really kind of set it off and made it kind of as big as it was, I think. But
yeah, for sure.
Did you end up moving to Bristol?
Yeah, well, when I was dead young,
was
actually,
it?
like I think that was to do with living right outside. As soon, you know, that whole, you know, walking into Rollermania and even 50, like once that was there, you know, you're looking at those boardwalls, and I was just like, I need to just be around this, seeing all those people skating. Yeah, it was just like, this is what I want to be around. So I ended up moving out quite young, moving into a hellhole where I think it was one of the first nights, you literally just in the city centre, I'm like living the dream, this is amazing. You hear a loud bang and look outside, and there's just like blood on the wall, fucking people screaming and stuff. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm like 17, 18 or something, or I don't know how old I was. And you're just looking at it like, what the fuck? This is real life now. I'm like, yeah. So for the kid who lived on the outskirts, thinking like, you know, that was a wild place. Coming into that was just like, wow, okay, this is different, you know. But yeah, so I moved into the city centre and just, you know, just go skating every day. And I think Route 1 ended up opening a shop in the shopping centre, which ironically was right back about 5 minutes away from Patchway.
Yeah, where you lived, yeah.
So I then was like, I, you know, wanted to work in skating. So I was just like, you know, 50 occasional shift, you know, when there was, you know, time. And then Route 1 had a job going. In fact, I went in there and they didn't charge me for something on accident. I walked out, and it's before I didn't know anything about skating on that level. I just go back in and was like, you didn't charge me. And he's like, that's pretty honest of you, mate. And I was like, you know, just whatever. And he's like, do you reckon, you know, you got a job? And I was like, well, I'm working at Asda, but trying to get out. And so they offered me a job, so I started working there.
Was that always your like aim? You were like, I want to work in skating.
Not necessarily just skating. I was like, I'm one of those people who like, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not gonna put my time into it. So I'm just not gonna do it. And so it was either like skating, football, or that around that time, that was the only two things I would have ever, or stacking tomatoes at Asda. But you know, that was the sort of first job. I worked there for 2 years, and then after that I was like, if I apply for anything, it's got to be something that I really like care about, rather than you know, I don't want to give, you know, 40, 50 years of my life to something that I'm not passionate about, because otherwise what's the fucking point? But
how long was you at Route 1 for, and like what was your role with
I was
Route
there
1?
for like 10 years.
Oh, okay.
10 years, and it's funny because Richard, the guy that owns it, he said, you know, he called a meeting when it was 10 years, and he was like, oh, you know, I didn't actually know at that point, and he said, as soon as I announced, oh, congratulations, Andy's been here for 10 years, he said, the look in your eyes just said everything, and I knew you probably wouldn't be there much longer, and within 3 months I actually got something else. But and that's no disrespect, because I really like him, you know, he's a lot of bad press, but you know, I always say, if he was your uncle, you'd be fucking stoked, you know. Like, and so, you know, and like I was sort of going on about the fuck Osiris thing, obviously there was a lot of that with those guys at that time as well, but I just sort of, you know, I just wanted to be doing something that I loved and not stacking potatoes, tomatoes, bananas, you know. So I was just like, right, let's get involved in this, and sort of worked all the way through it, really. Worked in the shop, that ended up sort of closing down when they sort of like expanded to loads of doors and then pulled it back. And then when they did that, he sort of said, do you want to come up and work in the warehouse and do all this, you know, stuff? And went on to working in photography, doing that kind of thing, and then ended up doing buying and stuff like that. And so that whole 10-year experience was like a big learning curve of like, you know, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, and you know, because you learn all sides, and in that time, obviously working in 50 and seeing how, you know, things work there from time to time, and it's sort of a good round. I would hope a little rounded perspective on things a little bit, but yeah, so it's fun.
I don't think people realise now that skate shop beef was such a thing. Like growing up
I
for
think
a
there's
while.
still a bit of it now.
I get it.
Like,
I get it, dude.
totally.
I fucking get it.
It used to be
100%.
really rife.
Because there was like 2 skate shops in Leicester. It was Roller Snakes, but then turned into the Ledge Skate Shop, and then Casino, and then you had like Magic Toast, which was still pretty heavily skateboarding, and 2 seasons.
Diving, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was 3 of those were on the same street.
Yeah.
So to think about it now, it's like some towns don't even have 1 skate shop.
Yeah.
To think at that moment in time there was 4, and how oblivious I was to actually like knowing how because it was just the norm.
Well, that's in Bristol there was 50/50 Roller Mania and then Shark Bite, and then obviously you had the Osiris shop which set up just down the street, and that was all within, you know.
And that was
like
a standalone Osiris shop. Just all.
I got no idea, dude. 'Cause that was when I'm like, you know, I don't have a fucking clue at that point. I'm just like, oh, there's a
Maybe
shop
it's when
that's 50.
the D3 was really
really.
So
I think they just sort of done something with iPath as well, because I remember loving iPath, and then that had gone all in there, and it was like Osiris and iPath, but under
What
the
was the
Osiris
distro
banner.
called? I can't remember what it was.
I'm not sure. That's the thing. I was
think they
so
did have
like
iPath.
outside of it. Yeah, it was like Osiris, Minute, and iPath, and I was just like, you know, I can't really do that. But yeah, that whole time with those shops, you know, that was. I mean, I really get it. You know, you've got I don't want to sort of like name names, but you've got the stores who are the ones who are like not a top shop, but you know, they're like legends back in the day. You know, you have those doors, and then you have doors like 50 or, you know, wherever your skate shop is, and those are the doors where you're going to go in, you're going to spend time, you're going to look through magazines, you're going to chat, you're going to ask people how their day is. You know, you don't do that when you go into fucking top shop. You might have a little chat with the employee, but if this is a life thing, you know, and you would, you know, found out in 50 that 3 of my mates had passed away, you know, like at 3 separate times. That is real life, you know. That's your actual.
It's like a hub, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hub, and I look around and I'm like, that's where like the shop does so much more than just a shop, and where I kind of feel like, you know, it's a youth club. It's it's so many different things. It's a fucking church to a lot of people, you know. Like it is a very valuable thing, and so when people put all of their selves into it, of course it's going to be fucking beef if someone just goes, all right, I'm gonna make an investment into this city, and we're gonna plonk I'm just going to say legends, because, you know, they're not around anymore, but, you know, they plonk a shop next door to it and go, let's go. Of course that's going to be fucking beef, you know. That's someone's real life, and this is your investment. It's different, you know.
Totally.
Yeah. We see it a lot here when I'm in the shop. If you because we got the skate park outside, if you do get kids turning up that are kind of being little shits or hanging around in the shop too much, and maybe they're being a little bit too. It's nice, but they're being a little bit too talkative. Or if you're serving someone, and you have to say to them like, try and pull that shit going into a top shop, and see if you can hang around there for more than 30 minutes before someone's like, come on, get out. I'm like, you can come here. Some people, like, you would have seen it, you probably did it, I did it. It's how I got jobs in a skate shop to start off with. You put in a full fucking shift, and you're not even working there. You're just there. You
wouldn't go to skin up in Asda, would you?
Yeah,
there you go.
That is true. But you know what I mean? Like,
try.
But like just going in and talking to someone on a similar level, you're not going to get it anywhere else.
Yeah,
so
no,
I
sure.
do understand it with like you said.
Yeah, it is a really important thing,
more.
and that sort of, I don't know what that hub of that cultural centre within that, you know, that city.
That's exactly what it's cultural centre. That's
It's
exactly
like,
that's exactly is.
I think that's something that's very unique to skateboarding, and then
sure.
when you get people from outside coming in, you know, like that time Osiris and Minute opening up, it's different. I think you know, it's like you're saying, that's somebody's lifestyle choice to do that business, and somebody comes in and it's like, can get fucked.
I think there's only a couple. I know everyone does go like, look, it's skateboarding, but it does happen. There is a couple of other things like our local butchers. You know, they get their stuff from the farm. You know, there's the farm and the butchers and stuff
there
like
probably
that.
is.
There is a couple, but it's and they've
maybe not so many that are so.
But you're not going to go into
passionate
the butchers and talk about meat for 3 hours. You know, like you're not.
But
I don't know. I bet some people think.
there is
Maybe,
people out there that go in and
tell
they're
you
like,
who-
oh, what rib line you got in here? Then?
I could do a couple of hours on stage.
I tell
to be honest,
you,
but
yeah, I'd tell you someone who could go into a butcher's and talk about it, and he fucking loved that we're talking about him. His personal trainer Tim, because the amount of times he tells me about going to pick up some fucking sausages,
sausage rolls. Yeah,
it's fucking
hell,
sharp, man.
Tim.
I love him.
God,
But yeah, there are a couple of industries that have still got it left, you know, and that's you try and do it, but you also co-op's around the corner or whatever. That's my local's co-op. I'm not just a posh guy, but that's just what's near. That's the closest one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's that skit they did in what was it? It wasn't Mouse, maybe it was, but they do the pogo stick skit. It's like the parallels that it runs alongside skateboarding, like pogo sticking. I bet there are. There are other industries.
Yeah, there is
really sort of more intense kind of local vibes. I bet there are. It'd be interesting to know what they are and what other shit goes on.
I think you get it quite a lot in bookshops. I've noticed that. I go to a lot of bookshops, and you can see that they've got their locals in there, like
Bookshop
like Mental Johnny, that comes in and just like
Do you know what? I've just thought of where we live. We go take the kids into this card shop, and it's like fucking Pokemon cards, and there's a whole world around, not just Pokemon cards either, but the
World of Warcraft cards.
I don't know what the fuck it is, but they're painting their figures and they're in there all day.
Warhammer.
What's that?
Warhammer.
It might be what I think it's different. Yeah, it might be Warhammer, but it is. Maybe it's just me. I just don't know it, but it's a whole little world that they create, and there's like they've got like a tiny little kitchen out the back, so you can order food there, and they do have that little community thing where if that wasn't there, those dudes would, I don't know what they'd be doing. They'd be at home doing it, but it wouldn't be as like, that is a real moment for them. That's their sort of skate shop, And
like when you go past them and there's like tables and they're sat down at the tables, like a couple of years ago, like I probably would have walked past and kind of laughed at it, but like I've not for a long time, because it's like, well, they've got
see the benefit that someone's getting.
Yeah, they're getting out, like, some of them are pretty pasty, so when you go past, you're like, oh, they're getting out of the house for a bit, and you go in, and my kids, for them, we're probably obviously when you have a skate shop and you have the people that sort of satellite around it, we're probably like I'm bringing my kids in, they're getting all their sticky fingers over all the cards and that, just digging them out and just trashing the place, and then we leave, and then they're left in peace to their sort of it's nice, mate. It is a nice little thing that they've got going on. It's not for me, obviously, but it is that other kind of industry where people live it, and they are, it's not an active industry, but it's, it's one where
another industry.
Yeah, it's another thing where people just live it, and it's,
Where did you get the nickname Evil Dorito from?
Oh, that's just from being a bastard and having a triangle-shaped face, basically. And just being, just like,
Who came up with it?
Shitty prank jokes on people and stuff like that. Do you know what? I can't even remember. I think that whole crew.
Evil Dorito.
A bastard, yeah. So they just.
I'm gonna change.
It was Korahn that messaged. That was the first thing he messaged me.
Yeah.
But ask him why it's called Evil Dorito.
Yeah, there's a few things like Louis Marshall. Like he was a little shit when he was younger. We both sort of bit of healthy backwards and forwards. But yeah.
There's another one here, Cakepeace as well.
I think that's just eating loads of shit, I think, isn't it? Or
what, cake in general?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, just sweet.
I can't even remember who told us.
I got
that.
a big.
Oh, it's Phil. I think it's Phil.
I don't know. I think that's just him saying that.
You got a big sweet tooth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink or smoke or anything, so I got to have something, So I just.
What's your favourite cake?
I don't know, I like a Black Forest Gatto, if I'm being honest.
Oh, that's rich.
Or
that
a
is
lemon
rich.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's got to be.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah, if it, or Pavlova. Pavlova actually is well up there. It's not really a cake, is it? It's more of a dessert, but that's probably it.
Can we that bit you just said about Black Forest Gatto and Pavlova, that needs to go in the trailer for this episode?
Yeah,
that's like the leading thing.
I really fancied a strawberry like Victoria sponge with some ice in. So on on the way back, I went to Morrison's and it was fucking raining, and I was on my push bike, so I was biking home on the fixie, holding this like cake.
They come in those plastic things.
Yeah, and I'm in the rain, and I'm just like, It's all going to be worth it when I get back.
Do you know what? There is an absolute banging cake. It gives you the shits big time, but it's
And that, can you cut that up as well?
it's a Costco one. It's just a massive like American icing, like classic like rectangle. And
That
just,
icing they put on Costco cakes is something else.
There you go. Yeah,
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know, but
It must have MSG through it or something, because it's just off a slight tangent. I'm more of a biscuit person.
Oh yeah.
And
you are.
yesterday, me and Rex went to Asda on the way home from school pickup, and I got malted milk, but with chocolate, half chocolate. Fucking hell, they were good. Yeah, Ed, you liking that, Ed? They're just so. It's just like less is more sometimes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I'm all about that. What's your favourite biscuit? Who did we have biscuit chats with before?
Stu, Love and Skate.
That's right.
Those chocolate. Is it Viennese? They got like the biscuit on the top, chocolate in the middle, biscuit on the bottom.
Yeah.
They're good. Yeah, Aldi
Dunk
do
that
some.
in a tea.
Chocolate hobnobs. Ugh.
See, I don't do the
Kit Kat straws as well.
See,
Kit Kat straws, bite both ends off, drink the tea.
I don't do the dunking in the tea.
No, I don't either.
It really messes with the structural integrity of the biscuit.
Yeah.
And then it just makes it slop, and it makes me.
Structural integrity of a biscuit.
You know, you got to be quick with it. You can't leave it dangling for ages. You know?
Doesn't Peter Kay does a whole routine on chocolate hobnobs being like the SAS of the biscuit world, where they can take the dunk in. Anyway, random one. Let's go.
Fucking hell. You're blind in one eye.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah,
How?
I am just blind in one eye. Yeah.
Well, completely blind.
I think it's got. So I don't know if you can see it. It's like water in there, like quite a lot.
No,
Yeah,
I hadn't.
I was trying to scope you out earlier, looking. You probably thought I was like
No,
eyeballing
if you see photos from me when I'm a kid, there's like one eye's over there, but I've sort of like got it a little bit more under control now. But yeah, I can't see out of this eye. It's like, I think it's like 0.4% or something. So like people who are blind, they don't just see like black. It's
they just shapes
something.
and light.
Yeah.
And stuff.
So at the moment, I can just see like one massive bright white light coming from here. But if I was to sort of go around here, it would go like brown and green, and that's it really. You just got like a blur of colours. But
are you okay talking about it?
Yeah,
I'm interested in stuff like that. Was that you had it since birth?
Yeah, literally since I was born. So my mum's got it in her right eye.
Oh, okay.
And then I've just got it in my left eye, which is kind of why sometimes like, you know, skating can be.
Well, that's what I was getting onto. Like, how does that affect skating, driving?
Sometimes, like driving, I went to the doctors when I was like younger about my eye a couple of times. I had to wear a fucking eye patch and stuff like this. They tried to do everything they could so I would be able to, it would get better, but it just wasn't. And the doctor was like, "Oh, you know, you probably never should drive a car and this. You'd probably be okay with the bike." So I like always got like a moped or motorbike kind of thing, and that way I know my hands are the. You know, I know that my width, I don't have to worry about this side. I just know my hand is there and that's as wide as the bike is. Because the depth perception's a little bit off, really. So I just sort of always was like, no, I shouldn't get a car. But just based off of the conversation with the doctor, really. And then it wasn't like you can't drive, you shouldn't drive. It was just, I don't think you should. I took my kid to the opticians one time just to test it. When you do your first eye test with kids, and he sort of like was mentioned about eyesight, and I was like, yeah, I can't drive because of this, and he's like, you should be able to drive, and I was like, tell me more. And we did like a little test on the spot. He's like, no, your peripheral vision, although yeah, you can't see fucking anything that side, your actual depth perception isn't bad enough where you wouldn't be allowed to drive. So
nice.
You can, and so yeah, just
when was this? When did you go for this?
That was like 6. So my little boy's almost 8, and it would have been after about 6 months, a year of him being born.
Fucking all that time as well.
Yeah. But to be honest, I'm quite glad because I don't. In a way, if like I don't drink, I'd have just been the designated driver everywhere. So I'm just like I escaped that. So I'm kind of all right. But yeah. So I sort of did a really quick course with like an automatic, and then just use it like a go-kart. Because I know you don't have to look down to change gear and stuff, but I don't want to have anything here that I've got to fuck around with. I just put drive.
You can just put it.
When you go to do your test, they ask you to read stuff on a sign.
Yeah.
And they did say, I mean, they said cover one eye, so I did. Obviously didn't cover that eye, but like, they said cover one eye and read the thing on there. So I just read the thing and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine to go in. I don't mind. You don't have to cut that one out. but yeah, they're not going to, I don't know. Maybe they will.
Imagine there's just one very specific person the DVLA that has a cousin that skates, and they're listening to this podcast at the same time.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
I think you're okay with that as
They're
long.
ahead of all the things that you can't drive for.
I think you're okay, like you said, as long as you go for like a doctor's or an eye checkup appointment, stuff like that. You're usually okay with
I
it.
don't even know if it's not like I don't even know if it's on my like medical record. I don't even know. Like I don't really like go to the doctors very much. I don't really like. I can't remember the last time I've been. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You don't want to say stuff like that because you'll suddenly get.
Fair enough. But I don't really go too much. So I'm not really like, there's another sort of. I've just always been like, I can't see out of that eye. I don't need to mention
And just
it.
get on with it.
Yeah.
Just,
Like my mum tried putting the eye patch on a bit when I was younger and get me to go down that route. It didn't really make it any better, and I'm just like, okay, cool. I just forget about that because it doesn't.
Did they recommend the eye patch to, like, so the light wasn't hitting it to try and bring vision back? Like, how was an eye patch
honestly,
gonna benefit?
dude, I've got no idea, but I just know that it made me walk into tables and chairs and look like a twat at school. So I was just like, I don't really want to wear that. And sort of,
no.
Is there any benefits of having it within skateboarding? Like, does it make your switch game better?
Well, that's the fit. So I could like, in theory, maybe, but like honestly, dude, like it's just a bit of a ball ache. I can remember going on a trip. I think it was Ryan Gray, and we were in Bulgaria. Absolute like terrible spot. I think it's like 13 stairs, rail or like a hubba at the side, and the run up was really shit. And I find it really hard to like, because I can't see in my left eye. The rail is this side, and I'm trying to like run up, but there's cracks in the run up and stuff, and I'm like, I can't like get my body on and to carve as much as I need running like that. So I literally just use my right hand to chuck my board on, kind of half Mongo, to just like get the right run up. So it does fuck you up a little bit. And skating Lloyds as well, like everyone says that I skate the wrong side because I'm blind in my left eye. If I'm trying to back heel, for example, like that, I did it on the left hand side because if I was on the right hand side, I'd be running down, and obviously there's the drop. It's not like there's a flat run up, and you've got this. It's like the drop there, so I wouldn't be able to see that. So I had to go on the other side so I could make sure that I wasn't gonna. But like, I don't really like pop too much stuff switch, but I just kind of like just ramming into things, skating up stuff like that. But yeah, regular, but I do like to cruise around switch sometimes. But yeah, luckily the Mongo throw on was the the last of it. There's a funny, that was a funny trip, very funny trip, that one.
What tricks have you done down the big three? I've seen a few in Bristol's Finest, I think.
Is hill flip, ollie, which took me longer probably than the hill flip.
Yeah.
Hill flip, back hill, and a half cab hill.
Yeah.
And,
Half cab hill. That's sick.
That was.
They were all in Bristol's Finest, weren't they?
Yeah,
sure.
I think the possibly. Yeah, I think the back hill and the half cab hill maybe. Half cab hill was a funny one. Me and my friend Tristan, he's like a photographer, and like obviously. Usually, if you're going to try something down Lloyd's, you're going to be like, we'll grab a filmer, we'll go film something. And Tristan was just about on that day, and I just sort of felt like, look, I want to go there. It took me about a year to back heel Lloyd's, like just constantly, like every single weekend. I just
it's fucking big.
Yeah, but like I'm like one of those dudes who I'm just going to do it. It's just going to be a numbers game. I'm just going to try it so much that I'll eventually do one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So yeah, but this one day I was like, I really, really got to think this half cab hill. I'm gonna try my best to do it. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try my best this day. So I just grabbed Tristan. We go out there. Did a half cab hill with I think it was within about 20 minutes, and it wasn't too bad. It was like the one that we actually ended up going back and filming was like kind of a bit rolled down the steps, but I'll take it. But yeah, Tristan. So we go home that night, and I'm like, oh, can you email me the sequence? And he's like, yeah, sure, no worries. And then messages me in the morning, just going, I'm so sorry. He's like, I've actually cleared my card, and I thought I'd uploaded it, and it's just gone. And I was like, fuck, no one is going to believe that. Like, imagine if I was like, went there, half cab hilled it in
20 minutes.
Yeah, in 20 minutes, and then yeah, it's just not there. No one's going to believe it. So I was just, especially with me, when it took like a fucking year or two to back heel Lloyd. So it's like, right, okay, I'm going to have to go back and do it again. And then
Did you reshoot a sequence of it?
No, I didn't. No, I'm not going to try it a third time. No, I did it I did it the second time, and I was like, I think that's like the end of me skating Lloyds after that, because it was a bit of a slog to get it the second time, and I was just like, I think that's me for skating that for a while. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're done.
Yeah.
There's been some mad stuff go down Lloyds straight in there. Like, like Korahn did switchback freeze down it.
He's done so much.
He's
stuff,
done everything down it.
I've got like I've got like a list of like, it's probably not all the things that have been done down it, but like a big old list, and it gets to like, I don't know, 2015, and it's just Korahn on everything. It's just mad. But there is some other, some of the stuff that other people done. Leif, like, was a game. Like, for
he's
me,
amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, for me that was like a moment where I was like, fuck, like this is something else. So about 17, start going to college, and Leif and his brother Karima are going to the same college, and a lot of the time we just sort of go in, meet up, drop out, and just go skating or whatever. And Leif skating the free was just like, it is honestly something else. Like, he just dialed nollie hill, switch front side flip, switch.
Leif
like,
is just honestly just good, isn't he?
Incredible. And that was something at the time I even remember thinking, like, it's not right that he's not like on anyone properly. He's like, how is this dude like? You'd have pros and tours come in, and Leif was like, in my opinion, shitting all over it. He was just like, levels beyond. And yeah, it's just incredible. So yeah, people like that, like, some really good shit. Switch tray, nollie hill, nollie hard flip. Like, he's honestly unbelievable.
Yeah, for super steady as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good. But there's a lot of people like that there.
Is there anything that hasn't been done down Lloyds at the minute?
Do you know what? One that I don't think has been done, and I tried to get Korahn to do it, and he might have done it, and I'm gonna look like a bellend. But I tried. I went back 3 times to try and do fakie big heel.
Right.
And like
Rick Howard flip.
Yeah, and I like bent my axle so. Like, the last time I went, bent my axle so bad that it was like literally rubbing on the board, so I just couldn't like even roll up to it, and I was just like,
the Rick flip.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone do that personally. I'd love to see Korahn do it. If he has done it, then I'm an idiot and I've not clocked it. But that's one that I'd love to see. Yeah,
I'm sure he could do it. He's probably not done it.
I can't recall seeing it.
No.
Yeah,
it's a pretty outrageous trick to do, Danny, but someone will just do it perfect, won't they? There'll be some freak out there that's their trick.
But it's just with the run up, so you can't carve at all because it's narrow. Like, I think sometimes people look at Lloyds and they're like, oh, it's perfect marble and it's this and it's that. You get there and you're like, this is not marble and it's not fucking a smooth sailing run up. You can only run up. Your run up's that big, or maybe this big tops, but yeah, it's very difficult. So you can't like carve into it. You just have to go straight. And the landing is those like red bricks which are all like this.
Yeah, kind of jaggedy.
Backs, like the amount of times like I try and on the back hill try it, and my back would just get rubbed across this, and it just come home like all up my back, just cut to shit. It's like, it's not an easy place to skate. It looks, on footage it just looks easy, and a lot of people make it look easy. Like Josh Arnott, he makes it look easy to skate. Mike Arnold, easy to skate. Like, you just look at them skating it and you're like, oh, it's nothing. But then you go there and you're like, fucking hell.
Well, the ledges and everything are quite round, aren't they? And that outlet,
they're super round.
That outledge as well is like fairly round. What did you do on that outledge in the Bristols Finest video, by the way?
Some terrible tricks that I did front nose on it, which is the one that's like acceptable, but I think I like climbed down from the ledge, like pretty much like my hands were like this.
What's the
there was some other ones I did. I don't know whether all these are on film. I know one of them is 50-50 front big spin.
That's the one.
50-50 front 3 shove and 50-50 front side 360 on the outledge. And all of them are as horrific as you'd expect. Like,
but that outledge is like that. Like, it's not sharp. It's like,
no.
I mean, it might have been at the time.
The little like gap in it as well. So you have
between.
It is at outledge because you can't just, there is a gap in there. Obviously, sometimes people fill it in and it's skatable, but it's pretty brutal ledge. That
it's one of the UK's most iconic spots, isn't it? Like, everyone rolls through there. Who were the last people to go through there? Like the Anti-Hero lot, maybe.
Yeah,
they went Turbo
Island. That dude went. I can't remember his name. Wild Hair Vans, Dobby.
Doobie.
That's
Doobie.
it.
Dobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
When he got a pro board.
Yeah, at
Master's
Lloyds.
giving
and
Dobby
then
a pro board. Look. Talking about
Sorry, no
Lloyds.
disrespect, but yeah.
Talking about Lloyds as well. I've recently been rewatching Skins. And at the start of season 3 of Skins, there's a guy skating Lloyds, and he's skating it going the long way as you would skate it as a ledge, but then the camera cuts to him ollieing the two. But he's ollieing it the way that you would skate.
So I
it.
think that's Boyo.
I wanted to know who was skating.
I can't remember what it was, but like I know Boyo did a lot of extra work, and Tristan, the guy with the lost the sequence. Like, I think he was doing a bit of skin stuff. There was a lot of like at that time in Bristol, there was a lot of that skin stuff going on. In one of my friends is actually live in one of the later series, and there's a lot of skins tied into the area. I think that they probably saw how ridiculous the sort of culture was there, and like, I've got an idea for a TV program here. But and they sort of.
I wanted to know who it possibly was that, like, if anyone knew who the actor was that was, or the skateboarder was that was playing Freddie, because then there's the bit where
Freddie, that's Boyo.
He's trying the back lip slide on the big quarter,
and
he like slips out on his own. He goes, and then it cuts to the actor, and he's just got this like massive cut all the way up his arm. Like, oh man,
So he also had to bomb Park Street and like ollie a skip.
And actually ollie the construction.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
In the fucking fedora hat and the big
it's so good,
high top Nikes.
So good. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
Oh man, yes, I'm glad that I actually know who that was now. Yeah. Because when I rewatched it, I was like, who? It's got to be someone in Bristol that would have done this.
Yeah. There is some going back to Lloyds. There is some weird tricks on that I've seen, and I'm like, I think it might not have been Habgood, but it's someone who's like, this is like, it's like Ollie Paul Carter, and then it's like heel flip nose, or like heel flip and then a weird grab, and I'm like maybe heel flip melon or something. And I'm just
down
like,
the free.
Yeah, I need to, scrap it. But there is some like, you would think like kickflip, maybe frontside 180, but then it's like actually some random. I need to have a look at it. It's not one for now.
Has anyone done Benny Hanna down it?
I'm sure they have, yeah. Oh, do you know what? I know that there is. Yeah, there would have been, yeah, because there was a big time in sort of 2005, 2010 where people were just shouting Benny Hanna at everything, wasn't they? I remember going to NAS Festival and just like hearing the word Benny Hanna being shouted out from the tents at bedtime, like just loads of,
Let's get into talking about CAF.
Yeah, there's a lot to do with skate CAF.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably just reel it off, but
tell us all about it right from the beginning.
When was it founded? Where did it come from?
I probably can't, because CAF originated like is Rich. He filmed like he was sort of just filming a scene video with the younger lads. So like when he probably started filming for the first video, like we probably loosely knew each other, and then he started ending up working at the shop with me, and sort of like as it was sort of finishing, as he was sort of wrapping up filming, he was sort of coming up with a name and stuff like that. And I was at the time I was like, trying to figure out something. I had like a couple of ideas, and he sort of mentioned the name Skateboard Cafe for the video, and I was sort of like, oh, that could be, he was like, that could be something, and I was like, maybe I could help with that because I have some ideas. Maybe we could merge the two, kind of thing. And he also like, he was, I don't know how old he was, but he was just thinking like, bring a video out, maybe make some t-shirts and stuff like that, and I could help him with that, and so we just kind of like merged what we were thinking, and it kind of worked out quite well in the end. He just came out with the Starbucks t-shirt, the kind of the
You ever got any shit from that?
Yeah, that was we got a letter for that one, which I got framed somewhere, but it's just
you just kept running it.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a cease and
I just kept running it, but also it was like a legal letter just saying yes, exactly that, cease and desist production. But it was actually a little bit of backwards and forwards, because they sent a letter, but they also sent me an email, and I replied to the email just like, it was something like, Starbucks is a world-renowned company of great standing and reputation. It was the year that they didn't pay any tax in the UK, and I was just like, we're a board company that's made like a pallet of boards, mate. We paid more than you into the pot. Like,
did you say that?
I did actually say that in the email, and then I was like, also like, yeah, we will take it down, but I'm just one of those people who can't not say the thing. So I was like, you're saying your world record, you know, you're saying all these things, but
you're not paying your tax.
And we'll also take it down maybe, because obviously legally we have to. But like, yeah, it was yeah, obviously, like, you know, and I'm sure there's reasons for that. Like growing up now, I can be like, oh yeah, of course, because they obviously invested a lot into, you know, building certain things, and sometimes you might not pay tax if you don't make a profit and blah blah blah. But at the time, I was like, hey, fuck you guys. So I had to say that and then take it down. And then maybe we made another run or two after that. But.
Was there a pretty well-known photo? Who was wearing it? I'm sure there was a photo of someone wearing
There's a few, yeah, it's like the Beckhams and...
Wearing that graphic?
Yeah, I think...
Was Rihanna wearing one?
No, I think
that was that was maybe a Palace
top. I think that there was a couple of celebs in it, and I think... I don't want to make any bold claims and be wrong, but I definitely know the Beckhams, they actually ordered a couple of bits, like a side, and there's a...
Oh, off their own back, they just...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the dude, Lena. I'd love to go for a kickerback, but yeah, no, they just like ordered a few bits, and I've seen a couple of photos of him wearing the t-shirts, and then photo of him skating that board and stuff. So it's like quite nice, but yeah, that, you know, we did run that for a while, and I feel like, you know, definitely had its day, and then it was just like, right, we'll move on, and in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that it got canned, because it actually made us go, right, what do we actually want to do? And you know, like, let's take it in. We don't have to tie everything. At the beginning, it was like, let's tie everything has to tie into cafe theme or anything around that. And it's like, actually, no, it doesn't have to do that. Like, shut the fuck up. We can drop all that. It's just anything we like. It doesn't have to stick to one thing. So it was a blessing in disguise, really. As much as it was like a big thing for us at that time, it was like, yeah, no, it's the right time for it to go, and came up with some other stuff like that. You know, we ran that Planet Donut thing pretty hard, and the same thing, like at the, you know, this first time, it really captured that moment, and then you know, it was the sort of right time to phase it out when we did, and sort of start coming up with newer stuff, I guess.
Who comes up with the artwork? Is it a mixture of people? Because it's got quite a broad. It's broad, but also I don't know if I'm just thinking of like a series or a couple of series, but quite a jazz themed, kind of like, you know, musicians or something, kind of like.
So that's like me and Rich both. We sort of both enjoy. There's a jazz festival that goes on in Bristol, and sort of go to that a couple of times. You know, neither of us are. You know, we're not going to go saying like we're big jazz fans and I can reel off loads of people, but we always sort of like appreciated that that side of things. So we kind of always looked to that, always appreciated it, and I don't know, just like a style that we both enjoy. Graphically, it's, you know, like this April who did these, I sort of just found my Instagram explore page is just loads of graphic designers or artists or people who do stuff like this. And I sort of saw this and I was like, okay, like maybe we could message her, and she did this pretty cool series of 4 different color rugs that were like in the shape of boards, so we used them for board graphics, and then got her to do this and a couple other bits, and then sort of Gurab, I think I just found him on the explore page, sent him to Rich, and Rich is just like ran with that, and he's, you know, he finds, I don't know, I can't really think of some of the recent ones. Is this guy Ethan from London, who Rich found his stuff, and you know,
who did the dog series that came out pretty recently?
Dog series was sick.
I've got a feeling it's, if I get this wrong, it's my bad, but I got a feeling it's Rich's dad. So Rich's dad is an amazing artist. He's like, yeah, really talented dude. I think it's more of a like side project. You know, it's like more of a hobby for him. So he gets his dad to do some stuff. His dad's done some really cool stuff for us actually over the years. You know, it's just some of the more sort of hand-drawn pencil style would be his dad. I've got a feeling I might have got the dogs thing wrong, but yeah, his dad. And there's a few people I've worked with in the past who've helped out, and I've done some of them. Like, you know, growing up, you sort of just learned how to use Illustrator, YouTube myself, like Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff like that, and just practice making a few. I'll do the more like very, very simple graphics, the sort of ones where you're like, you know, boring but nice, like that's like me, not boring, but you know, like kind of classic kind of thing will be more my sort of thing. And Rich definitely over the last couple of years, Rich has definitely like fully lent into that side of things as well a lot more, which is really nice, because I think before it was kind of quite split, and Rich was like 100% video and stuff like that, and now he's like, you know, he's putting a lot of work into the, not just the video side but the production side and stuff like that. He's really taken on a lot more of that now, so which is lucky, because obviously, you know, stuff with me with Slam, Lost Art and all that, you know, everything else, and 2 kids is definitely appreciated. I wouldn't be able to do it now if it wasn't for him.
You got to give a shout out to Rich. He's like just a nice person as well. When I've met him in Sheffield, he's just a nice person. He's a fucking good filmer as well. Good filmer, editor. That was some of the questions when we get onto like the cafe videos and stuff like that. Just to
that's all him, man. Like the visuals, all the stuff that you see, like that side of things is all him. You know, he'll, you know, and fair play to him as well, man. Because we're still in the pocket of like bedroom brands kind of thing in a lot of ways, and you know, we're so late, and it's not something that I work on full time. It's just like I personally treat it as like hobby time. Is my time where I get to enjoy and do stuff with that. So a lot of the time it can be a little bit later than we'd want. So you might have like 24 hours for Rich to turn around the lookbook, and he'll just go out, take the shit, steam, get the guys out, and he'll make he will really go to town on it. So fair play to him for that. But yeah, there's
I mean, how long's it been going for now?
So we did a 10-year thing, but I think that was on about 12 years, because it was COVID happened, and it was like from when the videos kind of started. It was
like 20. Was it 2011 or 2012?
It's probably closer to 15 now, I would have said. Like it's got to be close to 15, maybe 14. Yeah. But to be honest, like I don't really hold on to those like timelines very well. I'm just like, it kind of all blurs. I'm not really too sure. You kind of, you know, lose track of a lot of it. But yeah, he's when you talk about Calf, they wouldn't be, you know, my ideas for things would not have morphed into that. It would have been, you know, him, and I'm sure he would have sort of come up with a tee and a couple of boards, and I think together we've both driven it on a little bit. But it wouldn't be Calf without his sort of like half of, you know, his input and his, you know, there's no way that I would have the time to go out filming, and certainly nowhere near as good as he films. Like his filming is, he's very particular about it. You know, he'll cut stuff out for the smallest reason, just because it's, you know, he's very focused on the visuals that he wants. Yeah, you know, and that's because it's his, you know, when he puts out a video, it's his creation, you know, it's his baby. He doesn't want to put anything less than what he thinks is right. So, you know, I try not to get involved in that side of things.
So I was just going to say, like, obviously, because you're busy, you know, we'll go into Slam, Lost Art, and all of that stuff in a bit. But obviously, you're a parent as well. You mentioned you play football and skateboarding. So, like, how much time do you know, how do you balance all that?
By sleeping about 3 hours,
it's
probably.
Like, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't sleep very much.
How many hours? What are you averaging?
4 or 5.
And what do you do? Like, what do you do in the night when you're like, everyone else is asleep?
Because he doesn't sleep that well.
I don't sleep, and I always wonder what to do myself. I end up just wandering around.
Honestly, like I'll grab the laptop out. I'll do like a bit of, not necessarily like work, but just sort of like getting ideas for stuff.
Inspiration.
I'm a closet nerd online.
Right.
Sort of, you know.
What about skateboarding or something else?
No, definitely not. So like the wrongful conviction stuff like that.
Right.
I'm big into that. I'm a part of. Have you ever seen Don't Fuck with Cats?
Yeah.
One of those nerds basically. So just sort of get involved in a bit of that.
We'll come back to all that stuff.
Yeah. In
a bit.
Yeah, fair. But yeah. So I sort of, you know, I just don't like going to sleep. I find it weird going and lying down and just having like, you know, just closing my eyes and being there like that. I just find it odd. So
are you one of these people who just doesn't need much sleep?
Yeah. I enjoy being like doing shit. And even if it's shit that's pointless, I'd just be like, oh, cool. Like, I'd rather be awake and
doing interesting things.
Yeah, I'm just like,
that's interesting. I think, like, I mean, I never really used to struggle with sleeping, but I do now. And I think maybe I've got it into my head that you need to get 8 hours. Maybe I don't need 8 hours. Maybe I should just get up at 3 a.m. Usually after being lying there, just like
Usually I'll get like 6, maybe 7, but sometimes I go to sleep and I know that I'm tired and I should go to sleep, but but I feel like I'm missing out on something if I go to sleep, and I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, that's what I do, and I end up just staying up on my fucking laptop or playing computer or just being a nerd. So I wouldn't. Well, you're not missing out on anything, but it's just
nothing good happens after 6:30 p.m. anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
No,
thing.
isn't there all nothing happens after midnight? How I Met Your Mother. That's a quote from there. 6:30. To be honest, over winter I was getting into bed for like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I had a bath at 6:45 last night.
Oh, I wish I could have seen that. Because I don't have a bath at my place. I've only got showers, so I do miss having a good bath.
Do you know what the funny thing is, right? As I got into the bath,
You thought of me?
I thought Forde loves a bath. I was like, I probably should have
Could you invite me round for a bath?
No.
Could I have a bath?
What, together?
No, not together. Maybe.
That'd be pretty cute.
It would be nice.
Anyway, can we?
Yeah.
Do you have any? You don't even have a bath. I was going to say, do you have any like rituals for your bath or?
No, I used to when I had a bath. I'd put like the salts in it and then get some candles. Maybe put on like a
I'm assuming you do.
like a podcast or something. What's you look like? You got.
Tell us the routine.
Go on.
Well, it's not routine. I just absolutely love. You know, at Lush.
Yeah.
They got
Yeah, the bath bombs,
at
intergalactic.
Christmas, they do Snow Fairy.
Right.
Banging.
Ed's all about this. Producer
there you
Ed,
go.
handsome Ed's all about
I always
this.
used to get the intergalactic ones.
So
So good.
You get one of
they
those
are
in there.
good. They are, and you can go like the kids fucking love going into Lush because they, you know,
'Cause it
they
stinks.
fill up the water and all the staff just chuck bath bombs in there and they just watch them go. But yeah, so my sister for Christmas bought me this massive thing of Snow Fairy. It's just got this fucking gel Snow Fairy that you can just break bits off of it and chuck it in the bath. But I kind of feel a bit weird about baths now. As I got older, I used to love, finish football, have a bath. That was, my life's dream. But then as I'm older, I've sort of gone, it's a bit weird sitting in your own shit, isn't it? And I'll opt for the shower now most times. But
yeah, I don't know. I've never really been a big bath person, but I was so cold yesterday.
Yeah, it's just nice getting in after the cold, isn't it? To warm your body up.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about
So
food.
nice. So around December, if I send you like a package of bath bombs, you send me like a nice shaped board. and that can be our yearly.
yeah, Snow Fairy.
yearly
Our
exchange.
yearly
little
exchange.
exchange.
Don't talk to each other through the year.
Yeah.
But then you just get a stack of bath bombs.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm
Addressed
still-
to the Evil Dorito or whatever. What was
Yeah,
it?
the Evil Dorito.
Dorito, yeah.
Oh fuck! I would.
Hang on. Let's
I'd
get back
love a
onto.
I'd love a
Skateboard
bath
Cafe.
now. Can I have a bath at any of your houses, please?
No, absolutely not.
Maybe.
So anyway, what I was getting onto, like saying because you're so busy and you've got kids and like that's a full on thing. Like what is your kind of like day to day operational things with Skateboard Cafe, or are you leaving
with
it?
Cafe, I don't. It's not. We're not a thing that needs like full time dedication like every day, and we're lucky with the relationship that I have with Mike at Keen in respects of it's distributed through Keen, so those guys handle a lot of the like day to day, any web store stuff. Those guys deal with that. All the distribution, those guys deal with that. So
It's perfect at Keen.
Yeah. I think so. And initially early days I was sort of doing it myself from the house, and it was like we got it to a point where it was like unmanageable to do it from my house. I literally couldn't go to the fucking toilet or anything. There was boards everywhere.
Boards in the bath.
Not in the bath, next to the bath.
Not a Wes, but
yeah, Wes had boards in it. But when I went round his house for the first time, he had some boards in the bath. But that's just because that's what you do to
Make it happen.
moving,
and that's what a lot of people ask me about. Like, I'm not the right person to ask, but a lot of people ask me like, what should we do with our brand? What should we do with this? And I just think do it yourself as long as you physically can. And make it to the point where it's physically unmanageable for you to keep doing it, and then you'll know that it's time to move to another thing, whether that's a distributor or your own place. Then that's the point. And luckily, I went to work with Wes at Rock Solid, and then after a couple of years, sort of pulled CAF into Rock Solid and was doing it there, and I think Wes did a great job with it, and
Big up Wes.
took it as long as he could. And I even went to Keen and sort of left it at Rock Solid for a long time. But then when you have two kids and is a case of like, I need to make this manageable for my like life. So we pulled it away from Rock Solid, and you know, that was a tough call to make, because
I bet.
not only, I said this to Wes actually a couple of years back, but not only is like Wes someone who's given me a good opportunity with work and stuff, but I go back and I look at the old 50 video, and honestly, the one trick that stands out in my mind is that Wes rides up, does a varial hill off of IBM, and IBM is my like favorite spot, and it's just really stood out like to me, and I was just like, personally, I was like, oh, that, you know, I don't want to let that guy down, but also I need to do what's right for my time and my family, so that I can have enough time to, you know, do Slam Lost Art, or at the time it was Keen, which was, you know, taking up a lot of time as well, and still do my kids justice and put a lot of time into that. So I had to pull it away, and then with Keen, I think it sits well, and luckily those guys, like, there's a, you know, a big sort of team of people there that all, you know, they take care of everything, and I'm probably more of a pain in the ass to them than those guys handle stuff really well, so I can kind of like hands off a lot of the day-to-day stuff, like web orders, all that stuff, and focus on the stuff that I'm working on day to day, and then Rich obviously focuses on filming, and at the moment he's just working on like Next Line or whatever it is. So I am actually just kind of the guy who keeps the accounts up together at the moment. That's kind of what it's morphed into. Back, you know, 7 or 8 years ago, it was very much different. I was making sure all the graphics were done, sending all that off, and was a much bigger part of it. Not that I'm not a big part now, but I was playing more of a role in it back then, whereas Rich has definitely taken on a lot of that, and which has enabled me to sort of like focus on other things as well. And I like having a lot of things going on, you know?
I get that vibe.
It's nice having a heavy mix.
I'm not someone who's just going to be like, oh, I'm going to do my one job and just focus on that, and that's it, and I'm going to go home and switch off. You know, I will go home and switch off with the kids, and I'll go and, you know, we'll go do the hobbies, we'll go do everything that entails, but then also I just like getting involved in a bunch of different shit. Maybe I should focus on one thing, but I just like it. I like a lot going on, you know.
You mentioned about working with Wes, so like how did that come about, and what was your role?
So that
with
was when so go back
so
to
this is Rock Solid distribution, just for anyone who's not in the loop with that.
So back, I was working at Route 1, and we have that meeting and everything like that, and then a couple of weeks later, we got shipped, like, I think they'd ordered like 10 set of diamond bolts, and Wes, like, I think there was like an accidental shipment of either we got sent 20 or 100 or something. It was something like double or add a zero on or something like that, and I was like, shit, you know, it's fucked up, do you want me to bring them back? He's like, because obviously he was based in the centre of Bristol, and I lived in the centre of Bristol. I was like, I'll bring them back to you instead of posting them, because it don't cost no money or whatever. So I went back and dropped them to him, and he was like, you know, we've got a job coming up, and, you know, I mean, maybe if you want to go for it. I was like,
as you're saying this, I can imagine Wes doing this to you, like.
But and I was just like, to be honest, as soon as he sort of like mentioned, I mean, actually going back to the moment where I was like, even going in the door, I was like, maybe it might be something, you know. And as soon as I go in and start chatting to Wes, and I'd known him before it, but as soon as I sort of go in, I was like, yeah, you know, I'd love to do something there. And then luckily he sort of brought it up, you know, what are you doing, and and I was like, I kind of want to change, and I want to sort of move on, because again, no disrespect, but a lot of the people at Route 1, they're great. I love a lot of those guys, and still keep in touch to this day with a lot of them. But a lot of them are still there now, because it is a nice environment to work at, and there are some good people there, and so I didn't want to stay there and not be able to go anywhere. And I just wanted to like be able to do something different. Again, like we were just saying, I want to have more going on and do different things. So as soon as Wes sort of said that, I was like, let's go, let's do something. And that was just as luckily just as Diamond, he'd taken Diamond because of the hardware and because of that side of things, but then obviously that whole thing just blew up, a whole life of its own. So I think Wes took a gamble, like, you know, employing another person, but actually
so were you the first person he employed?
No, he had a little team already of people, and they were all sort of I think that was like, what's the right way of putting it? They were all like 100% on it, and really everyone would dig in, but maybe I don't know if they had I think it was just a perfect mix. When I came in, it was a good mix of like, right, this is a direction and this is where we're at, and everyone was pulling on the same direction, and it kind of just like pulled everything together a little bit. I think where I sort of had a little bit of Excel experience. I did like a course in Excel and stuff like that, and I think that helped with like invoicing and stuff that was being done manually before. Like it was still very early days where we sort of like switched everything over so it would be a bit more like
streamlined.
Yeah, it's a bit more streamlined. So it sort of helped with a bunch of stuff like that, and a bunch of the brands that Wes pulled on at the time were sort of hitting as well. And it was, you know, it was just a real fun time to sort of see that whole thing. See the whole thing grow as it was, but he's a really good dude, man, and he has like a fucking amazing archive of stuff. Like a lot of the stuff goes over my head, but when I see it, I'm like, oh shit! Like the fucking Big Brother cereal, is it Big Brother cereal box thing? And, you know, like it's not something that I was aware of, but the archive of stuff that he has is just incredible.
Has he got it at
magazines.
Rock Solid?
Yeah. So I don't know if he still does, but back when I was there, it was like. I think he was sort of like having conversation of 100%, dude. And he was having conversations at home. I think like you need to get this kind of out, and or there was just definitely a lot of stuff brought in, and he made this little area where it was like all of his
a museum. Yeah,
it is a fucking museum, man. Like, and it was pretty epic. When people would come in, they would just spend like good half an hour like just checking it out. And he is I don't mean this in a negative way. He's the biggest skate nerd. You know, at lunchtimes he will be, you know, on forums, checking out different shit, checking out people's newest video parts. Like it doesn't, like for me, I can't go and watch skating all day. You know, I like to watch my certain specific people, and that's my thing. You know, I like to have my lane. But Wes is
you need to save some time for the conspiracy theory shit, right? You can't be watching skating.
Yeah, exactly.
All night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, he is like, he encompasses it all. He's just like, he eats
skate
it
rat.
all up. Yeah.
It'll be good when we get him on to have a skate with him first. And when I called him up on the phone, and he didn't answer the first time. And then he called me back, and he was like, just got off the phone with your booking agent. So he was like talking to you. What was he like as a boss? I mean, you know, being a boss.
He's. I mean, as a boss, he's like a friend. He's just a friendly dude who, in my opinion, like he didn't. And again, it's not disrespect. He didn't act like a boss. He acted like we were all on the same page of like
all on the same wavelength, just trying to build it.
It felt very much like that. And but equally, like if someone was doing something ridiculous, you know, he's definitely capable of a bollocking if you know.
Of course,
line, of course. But
when it comes down to the business side,
because essentially, you know, it's all of his. It's his life's work. It's his baby. So of course he's going to have to protect that from time to time. But like, you know, from when I was there, from what I can speak to, it was definitely like everyone's in this. You know, we're all in this together. Let's all, you know, drive this forward. And that was the feeling that I got from it. Yeah.
When did he change over going to Keen, and how did that all come about? Because obviously, I don't know, within the industry, like everyone's pretty close, especially that side of things. So from the outside, people don't. I guess they probably wouldn't know that, but like, you know, like the trade shows, it's everyone just hanging out. Like, there's no kind of animosity or.
Well, it made it difficult. Like, obviously, you know, I've known Wes for a long time, and at the trade shows, it was actually me and Wes and Mike and Callum. We would share a room, and it would be Keen and Rock Solid in a room and share the space. And it would, you know, I'd always chat to Mike about sort of ideas and stuff. Everyone would chat to each other in the room. You sort of get a good idea of how people are and how they work and whatever else. And I always sort of like, you know, me and Mike always got on well. And even back when I was buying, I would sort of chat to him. It was always like a nice, you know, always have a good interaction with him and stuff. And he was sort of, I think I'd found out about Little Man. It was going to be born, and I was sort of like looking at Bristol, and when you're growing up, this is exactly what I was saying about the place where I love. When I was, where the place where I grew up. Sorry. When I'm growing up, I loved it, and then when I'm like bringing up a kid, my mind was just like, I don't think I want to be in Bristol, and that's no disrespect to Bristol because I love it. I wouldn't write off ever going back there or anything like that, but. Just for me, I knew that if I was still around the same things that I was around growing up, I would still be poor. I wouldn't be able to be a good dad and be next to all the things that I love pulling me away. So I just felt like I needed to go and sort of experience something else, a bit more of a calmer life, so I could focus on dad life. And luckily Mike sort of was looking for something at that time. I think he just had someone leave and was like, right, okay, I need to kind of replace that. And I was like, kind of interested. And so we just sort of decided that would be the plan, and ended up moving up like to Oxford about 2 weeks before my little boy was born. So it was kind of like a bit of a whirlwind. There was a lot going on, and I think if I went back in time, I would have probably handled it a bit better with Wes, I think. But at the same time, when you've got the sort of clock ticking of little boy, you're just like, I want to get out of Bristol for my thing, and that's my thing, and nothing's going to stop that.
But I'm sure Wes understands.
Yeah, I think, at the time it was raw and I think for both of us, but 100% he understands that. It's not like if I love seeing him, that, like if ever I bump into him or we meet at trade shows or any of that stuff, I haven't got a bad word to say about Wes, and his beyond Wes, his family and everything, like really, really nice people, and everything that he's done there, and I, Pat, who works there now, and even Leo works there now. So like, I still have quite strong ties to Rock Solid and think the world of it. But at the time, I think, it was just a case of like, I was just like, I need to get out, I need to get away from Bristol. It wasn't a Rock Solid thing. It was more of a, I need to go and get out of here. I don't want to be bringing the kids up here. So
And then
Wes is still annoyed with it, and we're going to bring him out now. Here's Wes on the show.
It's a week today. Where's his book to come on, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the Keane thing hadn't have come, would you have not moved up that way?
Probably not. No, in fact, probably not. 100% not. No.
So that was the reason it was Keane.
Yeah,
the reason
it was.
You went there.
Yeah, and I think, like, I'm so glad that it happened, because I think sometimes from the age of 14 or 15, and when I sort of found skateboarding, my thing was Bristol City Centre. Let's go. Let's get in the city. And
live in the middle of it.
Yeah, and to be in a position where I'm like, start looking further afield, it was really nice to get out of that and to kind of find a place away from that. Whereas I was telling you before this, like, one of the people that I'm happiest to see in my day is Jane from the Co-op. It's very small, and it's like, you go out and you walk down the street and you say hello to everyone. And I was getting to a point in Bristol where that was happening, but there was just loads of people, and I just sort of like started to feel horrible around it. It's not like that. I go back now and I will enjoy seeing people and bumping into people, but at the time it was just like, I don't know, I just
overload maybe.
Yeah, but definitely overload of it. And I'd been in it for like 15, 16 years and was just like, I need to just get out. And it was lucky, because if that didn't come up with Mike, I would have probably just stayed in that situation, and I think I would have been a much shitter dad. And as soon as I moved out to the suburbs, I could sleep better. Like I couldn't sleep. The last thing at Bristol, my sleep was like 2 or 3 hours, and it was like horrible sleep as well. It's like, and I think that's partly living in the centre. You hear the bottles crashing, you hear people fighting,
shouting, cars, everything.
Yeah, and the first night that I moved out, I actually slept for 8 hours. The first night we got into the new place, literally slept for 8 hours, and I haven't really done that since or before. But it was just like, wow, it was a completely different pace of life. So yeah, it was nice to get out.
And what was the role that you went in with Keane? What was the advertised role, or what?
Do you know what? In all honesty, mate, and like I say, it's about timelines. My memory is hazy with it. It was sort of like, I don't know if it was like general manager maybe, or like overseeing. Kind of, Mike wanted to step away a little bit from Keane to focus on a couple of other ideas, and do the things that he was doing. And I think it was just like, look, I've got a good, similar to when I came in at Rock Solid. Look, I've got a good team here. I need someone to be able to continue to do this whilst I focus on some other stuff. And we'd sort of spoke about, when I went there, I was sort of like, I was like, Keane US is like, like that's a possibility, and stuff like that. And I think that me coming in sort of allowed him to sort of take his hands off a little bit. He was still heavily involved, but like enough so he felt like he could go and do that. And now luckily he's I've obviously stepped away from Keane, but he's got his partner Sophie involved, and she's sort of helping oversee that with him as well now. So it's like it's a very tight knit team, very good little setup. A lot of the people there.
Yeah, it seems like it. I need to go down and visit. I've never been there, so
could we have a trip down and visit?
I think, in all seriousness, I need to speak to Tim about it. But we should probably do a few days out where we go and do a bit of behind the scenes video stuff and go and visit people.
It'd just be good to see everyone.
Do you know what? That's one thing that I was chatting to someone about. I was chatting to Kennelly about it.
Big up Martin Kennelly.
Big ups.
Legend.
Yeah.
It was about the 411 thing, like back in the day. It's like it always. I loved 411 because it was like a few different things in there, and like
like a
cool
door
kind
into
of,
people's worlds.
Yeah, and it would be cool for people to do that now. And like now, it would almost be a relevant format. I could almost see it like a YouTube thing, you know, where you kind of have that, you know, insight into things as well. And yeah, you're always welcome at our place whenever.
What is your what's your day-to-day responsibilities at Keen now?
So
bearing in mind all that other shit you've got going on.
So in respects to Keen, I've completely stepped away.
Oh,
like, yeah. No, so I don't. And a lot of people, I think the perception is that that Keen is running Slam, and that is.
So there's a job role there currently going.
Where?
At Keen, I don't know.
Oh, is that?
I don't know.
I genuinely don't know.
No, I was
from
asking
me.
you.
From me leaving.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's long gone.
Oh.
But yeah.
So you're not there.
No, I don't. So the I think the perception is that Keen has bought Slam. The reality is that me and Mike, who owns Keen, have bought Slam.
Yeah.
Lloydy, the shop manager, he's bought into recently as well. So he's like, it's the three of us. It's not Keen that owns Slam. But there is obviously things that, you know, we're using. I use the same office space as Keen. It makes sense, right? You know, you're not going to just go and rent out another office.
Not if you've got it like set there for you.
Yeah,
as well.
but we don't interact like this. I actually think that there's a thing where because we're so close, we actually don't talk enough. So like Phil, who's the sales guy at Keen, you know, like there's days where me and him don't chat, or not in like a Mardy way, but just in a way of like, you know, he is 100% focused on his job, and I'm 100% focused on mine.
It's just... And
so we don't actually talk as much as we should probably. Actually, maybe there should be more communication there because, we sometimes I'll be in my world, he'll be in his world, and then 2 weeks will go by, and we're like, oh shit, but yeah. So I don't do anything with Keen anymore. My day to day is just like overseeing Slam, making sure that that's got, you know, everything that it needs, and trying to move projects forward with that.
Can we talk about Slam and how that all came about?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So when was that first thought about, and how did it happen?
In respects to Slam, I think it's no sort of secret within the industry side anyway that Marshall kind of wanted to sell Slam for a while, I think. And I think his thing was just getting the right thing. I don't really know what happened. There's loads of rumors, and I don't know, or not in a disrespectful way, but I don't care like what the rumors are. I don't know. Like I just know what I sort of experienced, and that was, you know, he sort of asked Mike about buying it a couple of times, and I think it sort of went backwards and forwards over the course of a couple of years, and it was sort of like, no, you know, couldn't work something out, and eventually I think he sort of bought, well, part of a consortium that bought Leyton Orient Football Club, and I think then he sort of started to accidentally maybe just go like, I kind of need to, like, maybe this isn't my main focus anymore. So he sort of started to step away, and then maybe changed his mind on what he wanted for it, and then sort of like came to an agreement with Mike, and I think Mike obviously knows that my thing was always I wanted to be in retail at some point again from working in it before, and I was like, okay, maybe I can help with this, because Mike has no background in retail, so he was like, you know, you have quite a bit of experience, maybe we can come together with this and kind of do this together.
Mike's really into like logistics and that kind of stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, he's funny, dude. Like he's, you know, you'll have him on and stuff, but he one of his things is like he likes going into the warehouse and picking orders.
Yeah,
like because he like, I think just knowing that thing, like
the systems are working.
Yeah,
and it's running smoothly.
Yeah, it's funny to see because a lot of people think a lot of people have perceptions of different people, but he's like, he likes to get in there and get picking and packing orders. That's his favorite thing. But yeah, so
it's nice when people keep that level with it as well.
I think it's really important too, though.
Yeah, because you lose track of it before you know it. You just like, time's gone by and you don't even know what's going on.
That's like when I first started here, Paul was always like, make sure you do the picking on Mondays. Because it keeps you in tune with what is selling and what people are buying and what's not.
Yeah.
And
Keeps you fresh.
And I think that's really important. You know, as soon as you sort of detach from that, you lose that connection. And
Yeah, especially because perceptions, within our industry, perception is a massive thing. With the reality is something very different. And I think to be able to go down and pick the orders and get the perspective of what is the reality of what's going out the door is important. But yeah, so me and Mike came together with that, and it took a longer while to sort out, to be honest. And I think that in that time, sort of Slam was, we got very, very, very lucky. There was only fucking 3 employees left by the time, because Jack Patriga had just left to go work for Palace, and there was 3 people left, and that's Mark, who does the website, Mark Jackson, Jake, who does the blog, who's, you know, he's gold with the blog, you know, and Tiger, the kid who was running the store, he was in university, coming to open the store 3 days a week, and the rest of the time it was closed. So it was at a point where Slam would have gone for sure if it wasn't for that. And I'm not trying to be the kind of like savior, because I'm not, but it's, you know, if it wasn't for him, it would have gone, because there's no way those people would have carried on with that lease, just going like, yeah, if it's closed 7 days a week, you know. So if it wasn't,
if you got doors, they need to be open.
Yeah, if it wasn't for those people, they, you know, it would have gone. Like, those 3 are crucial, and they're luckily still with us. And
I was going to say, like,
golden,
so they carried on over with you guys.
Yeah, we got really lucky with that. There was a couple of people who, 2 people who were planning on leaving anyway. And so they decided to leave. But that was sort of like pre-planned and sort of walking out. And obviously when you kind of move things, like, you know, you can't move everyone's job to Oxford either. Like, you know, we have to make change. You know, we have to change things. If it wasn't working, we had to change things, and that was how it was. So yeah, there was two people left. We kept 3. The 3 that stayed have been amazing. We couldn't have got to the point where we are now without them 3. Sorry. Yeah.
Is there any recognisable faces in there that we might know that are working there currently? Like, is it only those?
So Cam Barr, he's
Cam
Ben
Barr.
Keegan.
Oh, Ben Keegan's fucking sick, isn't he?
Yeah, he's amazing.
I remember filming him in Coventry. So he's from Coventry. He's got 2 older brothers as well. They all look the same. I don't know if they do now, but Ben was like this tiny kid, and he was coming out skating with us, and now he's almost like, he's a bit like Brandon Westgate. He's steezy, powerful, and he's got a fucking good manny as well on him. That kid's good.
Yeah, he's got so Rich from CAF also works he works in the shop a little bit, but his main thing is filming. Yeah. So he's working on a little thing with those guys now.
Ben's incredible.
So yeah, Ben works in the shop. Kieran does garden. He's there, and Tiger is still there. And obviously Lloyd, the manager, Lloyd Davis. So he used to work at Border South Sea for years. Those guys down there. So that's the sort of current squad, and yeah, it's a when you go in there and you see all of them stood together, it's a funny mix, but it works well. I think it works well. They're really good dudes, and I'm not saying this because I'm on a podcast just talking about them, but it's a funny mix, but it's a good mix. They're all really good dudes, and yeah, it's a good little vibe in there at the moment.
I need to get a Slam t-shirt, by the way. I meant to hit you up.
We'll get you one.
I always wanted a classic logo, Slam Skates.
I always wanted one when I was younger.
That's what I got now. But I was like, I kind of feel a bit like wearing any of my stuff. I just feel like a salesman when I wear like something that's like CAF Slam or Start. I just feel like I'm plugging stuff. You know, I don't want to be the guy who plugs stuff all the time. But so I'm just like, no, I'd rather. That's why I try and stick to stuff that isn't mine anymore. Because
the thing is, I would have bought a Slam t-shirt a long time ago if someone would have just fucking served me to get just to make this clear, this is years before you've took it. I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic now,
but like, you know, like I say, going back even then, you know, it's just one of those things that a skate shop is so daunting that actually you can.
I still get scared.
I look back and I'm like, I went in there and I said hello, and then no one said hello to me, and I'm like, did I go in? Like, what did I actually do? Especially like 18-year-old me, like being all daunted. Did I just go in and be like, all right, like a little bit, and not really say anything? Like, what was the reality? Just like, I would love to see that, like just what I was actually like, because I can tell myself like I went in there and just said hello and they didn't say anything, but actually, did I just sort of quiver and just be like, all right, no one said hello to me? You know. But yeah,
it is.
I mean,
but it's
innit,
a notorious thing, I think,
Yeah.
about slam, that when you go went in there around about those 2000s, it was a bit like that. Yeah.
I went in fairly normal. I had no pants on, but other than that, fairly normal. So.
But before we talk about Lost Art, there's something here like, obviously you've been in the industry a lot. How many? 20 years? It's gotta be, innit?
Yeah. Well, since I was 18 and 40 now, 22. So yeah.
How has it changed in the last few years? Like, what have you seen with it? Because I mean, we talk about it quite a lot, how things are changing. But
And like
from your position as somebody who owns a businesses within,
we talk a lot about, you know, names on boards, and do kids care about that stuff anymore, and kind of selling points.
Right now, I just feel like if it's not one of like a very small percentage of brands, it's just price. Like if it's one of the brands, you're like, it's all good, but then apart from that, it's just price. But within the industry in general, how it's changed, I think it has always been so many brands. It's always been, you know, everyone says now, oh, so many brands. It's always been the case.
yeah.
It's always been.
I guess it's more like relevant now because people see it all on social media all the time.
You see it.
Whereas before, you kind of
You stuck to your lane.
Yeah, but the difficult thing is, and you know, not, you know, the difficult thing for the whole industry as a whole is, you know, if you have a shop, for example, you know, we've talked about how it's more than just a shop.
Mm.
You know, it offers a lot of different things, but essentially it is a shop. And if you're, you know, if the kids in your city are looking to a brand that is, I don't know, I'm trying to think, I don't want to like slate brands, do you know what I mean? But if it's like a brand that you're not into, or, you know, maybe you kind of have a thing for boards that are a certain size or whatever, you have to kind of offer everything, or you're going to lose people to someone who does. And I think that right now it's like a very difficult time for those stores to look at things and go, you know, I've bought this board, like companies, and CAF does it as well. So I'm not like this. If we make this board and we make it in 5 sizes, store ain't going to buy 5 sizes of every board. So like, what size do they order? And you know, sod's law, when they order an 8.2, someone comes in and goes, I want an 8.5. And then it's just like a constant thing where the store doesn't feel like they have the stuff, and then the brands don't feel like the stores are ordering what they're offering, and it's just like a bit of a weird mix. But I do think that's always been the case, and it's just a case of like, you know, people just have to take a punt on it and just go with it. And in the industry as a whole, you know, it is obviously, there is a huge thing where brands are now talking to people directly where they weren't before, which is difficult for stores, and it's a pain in the ass for stores for sure. But also, how do a lot of people I know that run a web store will use that to fund team stuff. That's almost like team marketing budget, because, you know, they might not
shit gets expensive.
Yeah. So it is a weird cycle, and I think it's just a case of like, it's very difficult out there right now for a lot of people, and I think just focus on, it's hard to do this, don't get me wrong. What's coming into your door and what do they want, and if you can focus on that, you can be okay. But it's also very difficult. People just gone through 2 years of COVID or whatever it is, and just had all sorts of things ripped up, predictions ripped up and gone out the window. And a lot of people are probably looking at it like, I've done this for 10, 15 years, and now I want to have a calmer life, and I don't want to have this, and fair play. But the industry as a whole, I don't think it's changed much. I think it's always been a lot of brands, a lot of product, and a bit of a shit show. In a nice, eclectic way.
You can't pin it with skating, can you? You can't pin it.
What advice would you give somebody who would come up to you today? Say Forde comes up to you and he's like, I'm going to open up my own skate shop. What would be your top piece of advice for Forde?
First thing I'd say is just make sure that it's absolutely what you want to do. Like, it has to be something that you need to do.
Yeah.
And beyond that is, and whether it's a shop or a brand or anything, again, not a master in like any of this stuff, but if you were going to start up something, you need to recognize that it is a business, because it's fucking difficult, and how to run that is fucking difficult. As soon as you employ staff, again, extra headache. You know, there's a lot of things. So it's not whether you want to open up a skate shop, it's whether you want to open up a shop, and then moving on from there. And I want to have a shop that was like what 50/50 was like to me when I was growing up. But you can't have that if you don't have the shop running. So you need to understand everything that is. And it's fucking difficult. And just make sure that you're all in on it. And you have to eat a lot of shit sandwiches. It's not easy. It's difficult. It takes up more time than a normal job would, and you have to be 100%.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who have tried or called it a day that are way more equipped than me or way more knowledgeable than me that haven't made it work. So it's not necessarily just, you know, if you work really hard, it will come, because it isn't that. Like, you know, people can, there's all sorts of reasons that shops don't work out, and it can be rent, it can be any number of things. People changing a bus route, you know, like that can be a big thing as to why like a shop doesn't work. You know, it's like if the bus stop doesn't bring the people that way, or if your bus route suddenly changes, it's stuff like that can change your whole business and make it not work. So you just have to just give it 100% and really realize that it's a business and that you need to make that work somehow. I don't know really, but just know what you're taking on, and it's impossible to know. So I don't know. Yeah, I really am not sure.
Have you heard of anyone like starting up new shops anywhere recently?
A couple, but they're not like, you know, they're very, and then maybe they're doing it the right way, but it's like very small.
Yeah.
In very like nook and cranny kind of places. And a lot of it is like not a shop, it's a garage, and it's like done out like a shop or stuff like that, which like
keeping the overheads low.
Like there's two sides to me. There's one side which is like, look, some people got a, you know, if you split the industry into two, just for this example, and just go like there's shops and then there's these guys. You got shops who are paying their overheads, they're doing all of this, they're employing people, paying rates and rent and all sorts of other outlays, paying to fucking turn the music on, you know. And then you've got these guys who are doing stuff in the garage, and they're saving every penny that they can and doing everything themselves. I actually appreciate that a lot. I think that that's the core of skateboarding, really. But there does come a time where if people want to be able to get paid for skateboarding and paid for riding for a shoe company or paid for riding for a board company or anything, or for skateboarding to be any industry at all, then you kind of need the other thing as well. So it's just getting that balance. But the ones that are coming up nowadays are more like this than an actual shop. And it's quite sad to see when you see like, you know, your legacies and stuff like that going, you're like, fuck, like that's not good.
Yeah, I think this year's going to be interesting. There's certainly going to be a few more dropping down, which is a real shame. But
yeah, but that's, you know, and it's not good because, well, for me, I just want to hold up what I had when I was a kid. You know, that's what I want to be able to. I want other people to be able to find that. But you look at kids now, and I don't know whether I would pick up a skateboard now. Like
you said it before, haven't we?
Yeah, just because when I picked it up.
Well, you said it more. The amount of times you said it. If I got into skating now, like the age of 14, I don't know if I'd do it.
But that's because I think when I was younger, I was playing football and I was looking for something different to that, and I was looking to not, like, I don't know, it was something different. Whereas now it's, you know, everyone who skated in the 90s kind of picked up and wanted to be a little bit different, and I think now it's so accepted, which is a great thing as well. It brings its benefits that it's so accepted that the 14-year-old me wouldn't have been looking for that. And it's not necessarily the act of skateboarding, it's just the fact that I wanted to be a bit on the side. I didn't want to, you know, do the hobby of skateboarding as it is now. But that said, and this is what I said when people were talking about the Olympics a while ago, is skateboarding to me and to you who are like, I don't know if I pick it up now, is still the same thing. Because you can still grab your board and go to a car park, or you can grab your board and go to the streets. There's nothing that will ever stop you doing that. So it is still the same thing. It's just the other stuff that goes around with it.
It's just different now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But that's also, you know, that's also, again, am I looking back with rose-tinted goggles?
I think that is probably a large part.
Yeah, and that's...
It was of a time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
And you were at that stage in your life where you found it. And
that's what it is. I feel like I found something, whereas I don't think people... I think skateboarding is a thing now. It's not to be found. It's a big thing, which is a brilliant thing, which offers loads of people now, and a much broader church now than it was back when I was younger or when you were younger. that it offers so much to so more people now, so many more people now. But maybe it maybe now it's not the thing that I was looking for back then, but it is the thing that I am looking for now. Like when I want to just go grab my board, and I'm a bit older, and I'm not going to go all over the city finding street spots now. Now I would like to go to a nice fucking concrete park that's smooth, has a nice ledge, has a nice bank, and get a skate for an hour, because I don't have 8 hours to go out for the day. So now skateboarding, because it is that thing and it is that accepted, there are these parks where I can just dip in. So I wouldn't have found it back then, but now it's perfect for me. Like now how it is, it's actually a benefit now. But I just, that age, that 14-year-old wouldn't have picked it up. Now, now it's great that it's in this place for me anyway.
I always think back of when I was 14, like I said, when I went into town and found it, and like, just to have that kind of excited experience again. You know, like skating to the city centre as quick as you can, because you hear there's a group of people at a certain spot. Yeah. And like coming across a group of people skating and filming, fucking hell, it was good.
Just what you were saying then about like, I haven't got time or the inclination or whatever, however you worded it, to go skating for 8 hours a day like I used to. And my first thought was, fuck going skating for 8 hours in a day. Like,
so
rose tinted spectacle goggles.
And you know, back then I had the time to go out for fucking 8 hours or for the whole day. Whereas now it can't be that for me now, because kids, because of work, because of all these things. So it has to be something that I can do in an hour. And if I've got an absolutely banging smooth park, lights.
It's why I skate here.
I
can just come in on Saturday morning.
There you go.
And just have an hour and a half. Get it out my system.
Comes in at 6:30 in the morning.
I mean, what was that last summer? Me and you were here that early one week.
Oh, we got here at like 6 o'clock one morning. It's nice.
Yeah, just, you know, it's when it's hot, you just get in there and get it done. And anyway.
When I was growing up, the park there was a park in Patchway, and it was like a shotgun rail, no lights, and there was a curb, and it was about this much gap before there was a kicker like that.
Laid out well good. Then.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the fuck? And that, no floodlights, no nothing. So the fact that skateboarding has become this thing, which is amazing. I'm so glad that it has. So me saying that 14-year-old would not find it is not a slight on what it is now. I'm glad that it is what it is now. But it's just that I don't have the time to go out for those, all those hours to go street skating. I still will take a day off to do it from time to time, but not. You obviously can't live it, can you? That was the whole thing back then. It was like, I've got my free time, and you don't realize the freedom that you have in those moments. But hopefully the kids right now, hopefully they still have that. It seems to be a little bit of a different thing. Like it's a bit more mainstream, which is good for the fact that you can make a fucking podcast, or you can, there's Instagram accounts just from commenting on skate videos or whatever, where they do make a living. You do make a living off of it, or for YouTube or whatever. Those things are good. Like that's a nice thing that people can just talk about skateboarding and make a living, or do all the different things off the back of it. And if it wasn't how it is now, then that wouldn't be possible. So I'm 14-year-old me might have shunned it, but it's brilliant that it is where it is now.
I mean, just to be clear, we don't make a living out of this podcast. Just for anyone who's like watching this thinking that we're
raking it
coining it in.
Yeah, no, not raking it, but you'll bring your day's wage in, which is a nice.
You earn your keep.
Yeah, you earn your keep.
That's
there
it.
You go.
You earn your keep,
and
your bud.
let's be honest. There's not many people that are. If you're raking it in skateboarding now, who are you?
Let's talk about Lost Art.
Okay.
So obviously, Slam happened. You got that.
Yeah.
And then Lost Art.
So Slam happened. That was, we're still, in my mind, we're still in the process of, getting that to where we want it to get to. We've had huge help from people and brands along the way, and I've, like I said about the guys in the store and who've been around that, it wouldn't be also possible without the support of some of the brands and distros and other people. And I know that's like a cliche thing to say, but it really it's a no-go without that. And Slam would have been in, well, it wouldn't have gone. I'm sure he would have found someone to buy it, but who they are and what they go about, I have no idea. So we're sort of still in the process of that. And Mike came to me sort of towards the end of last year and was like, I've been chatting to Mackie and he's been saying about Lost Art, and maybe they need a bit of help with it. And I was like, I was like, he was like, what do you think? And I said, like, not right now. I honestly am like I said, I like juggling a lot of things, but I've got a lot, here, and and he was like, I don't know if we've got the time to say no. And I was like, okay, cool. So if that's the case, I love, it's classic, everyone says, I love Mackie, I love him to bits, and there's no way that I would be able to say like, oh no, we shouldn't do that. And so even though we have a lot going on with Slam, it's a case of like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, and let's sort of like come in, and we sort of came in on that on December, and sort of changed a few things over, like the website and stuff like that. But at the moment, we're still very much early days. It's only just happened, really. So we're still sort of getting our feet under the table, so to speak. There's a lot of things that we need to sort with it. But yeah. So Mackie came along and was chatting to Mike about it, and they sort of like worked something out where it's the same deal with Lost Art as it is to Slam. Whereas it's not Keen, it's myself, Lloyd, and Mike.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to that, like when the Slam thing was happening, Phil phoned me and he said it is not through Keen. It is you guys.
Yeah. I don't know how much people know, and also
I think there is a little bit of not misinformation, but there's certain shops within the UK that probably assume that it's all.
Yeah,
Keen.
but that's I understand that as well, though. I get that. I would do that. I'd be like, yeah, of course, the same building, same people, same thing. But then obviously when you get into how a business works, like it can't share the same account, it can't share the same thing, it can't, but what it can do is share the same office, share the same buildings, share those the same things. So we'll cut costs where we can, and that makes things a little bit more viable for maybe Slam can then turn a little bit of a profit instead of turn a little bit of a loss and then go, and hopefully that we can do that and can keep the sort of institution of Slam going, and hopefully we can do the same with Lost Art. And if I was a store, I would like, because you were sort of saying about from other stores' perspective, I'd be a little bit like, what's going on here? But that's natural, and I think, hopefully in time that can,
I mean, I get where, like you say, you understand where those stores are coming from with that being a little bit uncertain. But it's not like you've just opened up a new shop. There's not that link there either.
No,
so
but in all honesty, man, like if that was like something that was like my massive intention, like I wouldn't like hold myself back from doing that, because I wouldn't. I think the obvious thing to say is never say never on anything, like because so many times I've said I'd never do that, and then suddenly you're like, oh right, yeah, shit, here we are with, like, if you would have said to me 2 years ago you'd own Slam, I'd be like, fuck off, like what are you talking about, like so a lot to learn and a lot still to learn,
but keeping you busy.
Yeah, and it's, I'm really what we said about Slam and taking that on, and the people that we inherited from there. It goes the same with Lost Art, and everyone knows this with Lost Art because of how notorious it is and how notorious the people around Lost Art are. But we're lucky to have taken on the people who are around it and who are, the people that go in and who are the family of it. We're lucky to have inherited that. It's not, and we're not just doing it on our own like we are with Slam. It's with Mackie. It's with those guys. So
so they're still involved.
It's very different. Yeah, it's not like it's it's not like it's I was okay and comfortable with Slam because I think that's been sold a few times and that's gone through a few hands, and like we're the new gatekeepers. But I think with Lost Art is Mackie. Like whatever anyone says, and whatever I say in the future, Lost Art's Mackie. Like whether you like it or not, like that's and there is no way that I could have, with a clean conscience, come into Lost Art without Mackie or anything. So that, and I think Mike would say the same as well. So it's good. We're sort of very, very early days on that. So hopefully, like, in 6 months to a year's time, if people look around and be like, oh shit, the shops, hopefully we can have a shop fit very soon and do a few things where it kind of like helps the store a little bit and kind of evolves it a little bit in a positive direction. We'll see. And obviously bring the people who are around it with us, and hopefully keep those guys all on board. And like we have done with Slam, like of the 3 guys we've inherited, they're all thankfully still there, and I think happy, and I think they're excited and stoked on what we're doing. So hopefully we can do the same with Lost Art, and yeah, we'll see. But it's one of those things that I'm like honoured, or like not honoured, but like happy that we're doing. But I'm also like, it's a fucking shame that that people are in a position where it's like you're looking around and like going, shit, how do Slam City stay going? How does Lost Art stay going? It shouldn't be like that. And this industry is quite, there's not loads of skate shops, and skateboarding is popular. It doesn't add up to me. I'm like, what?
There is, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because supposedly more skateboarders than ever.
Yeah.
There should be, with the Olympics raising awareness and the amount of new kids started. But there are shops, too many of them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's actually not, when you think about
it.
But
not, in our industry, there it seems like there's a lot, but there's not really when you look at it. But.
No, but and hopefully, I think it's a case of skateboarding is the same as every other industry in the respects of it's not going to escape certain things. Like you can't escape, financial times. You can't escape certain things, and every industry has been a victim of certain things over the last couple of years. And hopefully, it will come out the other side and be in a position where people aren't looking around going, oh, I've got this business of 20 or 30 years. I don't really know what to do now because it's so difficult to just keep it functioning. Hopefully that will happen, and people will be able to sort of like, maintain or improve their own stores and keep going. But I'm honoured that Mackie would let us be involved in it, and honoured to be taking over the legacy of Slam and stuff like that. And we'll see if we do it justice. Who knows? Like, you can't guarantee anything, but hopefully we can sort of go on and do those things justice. And like I said, I want to create what I had when I was younger, and hopefully we can do that along the way.
Do you want to dip into bit?
Yeah, just a few more bits about Skateboard Cafe.
Okay, yeah.
Just really just the basic shit. Like who were some of the first riders on Cafe? Like you said it came from an independent video that Rich was doing.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of glazed over a lot of the timeline, but yeah, it was sort of independent video that Rich sort of made, and then sort of off the back of that made a couple of t-shirts, and then
sorry to interrupt you. Was it an independent video aside from the first?
So it wasn't a brand. No. Yeah, it was a So like the first sort of CAF production, it wouldn't have been that. It would have been with
the alfresco.
It would have been. It would no. So yeah, before that, it was like a couple of dudes from Bristol to shout out. Mark Pritchard, Tom Gibbs, a guy that sadly passed away called Ashton. There was like a crew of people like that, and I know that I'm gonna forget. I won't include a bunch of them. I know I'm gonna forget like names, but it was those guys who'd like all Rich's crew and his like younger the younger guys basically. They would come about, and they were sort of starting to film and starting to kind of like do things themselves. And then Rich had obviously filmed for this video and called it Skateboard Cafe, and then obviously it evolved from this sort of scene video to being the brand that is now. And the first rider was actually Sean Curry. Yeah. And that came from just like a bunch of backwards and forwards. I don't really know how, to be honest, because I think Rich was coming up to Chef quite a lot, but I don't really know how it came about.
I think Rich said that Mark told him about
Mark was living
Sean.
in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was exactly it.
Mark was there, and Mark's sick as well.
Yes.
And I think he mentioned to Rich about Sean.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. Mark was living in Sheffield, and he was coming up quite. Rich was obviously best friends with Mark, and Mark was obviously from the first sort of CAF vid before it was a brand. And so Rich was coming up, and then obviously met Sean, and he was sort of, I think he was sort of like in between things, or not 100% on what he was doing, and then said that we were going to get boards made, and then he was kind of in, and it made sense, and felt like, Sean, like, obviously I would say this being from CAF, but he's one of my favorite skateboarders. To just watch someone skate, it's like it's funny, but like, the Gino thing, I'd rather watch him push. I'd rather watch Sean do a kickflip than watch.
He's got a good flip, hasn't he?
Yeah, like or whatever it is. I don't tire of watching his skating, so it's just like I'm personally love it.
I recently went over a bunch of old like classic Sean parts and like Brass Monkey and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and he's done so much good shit.
Yeah,
Like,
how he sits on crooks, just like that.
Yeah.
I like his skating is just like what I like basically.
Yeah, he's got a proper good
amazing.
flick on his stuff, hasn't he? The way that his legs sit and stuff like that.
Yeah,
yeah, he's really good.
Really good. So he came on board, and then sort of being the crew that we are, it was always like a fairly big friends thing, you know, like there's always people around, whether it's, you know, like Korahn wasn't necessarily like on or anything like that, but he was sort of like around everyone filming and, you know, filming bits. That's where it came, I think in one of the videos, and I can't remember which one, it was like our mate Korahn kind of thing. It was with like pretty much a full part at the end.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys around Bristol, like we were talking about with the older generation, are fucking amazing. So if they're just getting calf boards or, you know, buying a couple of cheap boards from us or getting a couple of boards from the shop, you know, they'll just film a part. And it was a lot of people who are around. Just it was almost like a scene video still within itself. But then obviously we sort of started to branch out a little bit, and Harry was, you know, Harry and Arnott, and in fact,
Harry's well fucking good.
Yeah,
I like watching
yeah.
Harry footage.
Yeah,
Like, he's sick.
And one of the things that I remember, I sat on a bench at College Green, and Mike Arnold, he'd grown up in Bristol but moved to Leeds, and he was just skating around, like just skating the green, and he was just doing like, I think it was like 5 tray flips in a row, and then there was always these like orange barriers there, and he just did like a tray flip over it and maybe a nollie back heel pretty quick, and I was just like, who the fuck is that guy? Why have I like never heard of him before? Like, he is amazing.
Why did he move to Leeds? Was he...
For uni, right?
Yeah, uni,
Right.
yeah, he went up for uni.
What did he do at uni?
No,
Magic.
no, something
gonna say,
else,
is it?
Judging
probably,
by, like-
yeah,
He looks.
Wizardry.
probably.
I can't remember if I've met him.
Could you Google that?
But
Could you
he,
actually? Is there actually wizardry degree?
I guarantee there is.
I don't.
It wouldn't come up on Google, though, would it?
I don't think I've met him, but he seems tall. Like, he's quite a tall guy. But if he's not a tall guy, then he's one of
fucking
those
massive,
guys
dude.
that makes boards look small under his feet.
He's
He
fucking
does, yeah.
massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
And
massive. and
isn't
he's-
his family like or his dad or his mum something to do with like stunt coordination, and that's why he can, like, you remember that clip of him scaling down the rock face when he dives into the
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
but
yeah.
his body's at an angle, like you watch
Yeah.
it and you're like, what?
He's
unreal.
I don't know what his family do, but when I heard of like the direction that his family lives or where his house was, I was like, oh, fancy. So I don't know what they do or anything, but
So you saw him doing tray flips.
yeah, it was just
and-
like, what the fucking hell? And like, I think, you know, I don't think that was like a let's get him on, but that was like a moment for me where I was like,
It's
just
definitely
like the
good.
control and how he was kind of like almost practicing how slow, like it was weird just seeing him skate. It was like, are you trying to flip the board this slow, like just to get it? It was just, again, like I said about seeing, who was it I was saying about, you sort of see them skate Leif, a different process where it's like that.
Yeah.
Similar with Mike, where you see him skate, it's like it's something different to how I could skate for 50 years and I still wouldn't have that same process that they have. And seeing
looking
Mike
at it
skate was very,
differently, aren't
yeah, it's just a different
I know what you mean
thing.
about Mike. Like when he does switch heel flips, it is like
Yeah.
the board is like, woo,
Yeah,
but he
it's-
still catches it.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
Sort of where it's sort of like
Technique.
ramps, like
It's like not what you do; it's how
something
you do
else.
it.
Yeah, exactly that. And
Very important. in
I could
skating.
watch him jump out of windows all day and stuff like, you know, like just in those edits.
he's just a
like the
viral
Atlantic-
guy.
Yeah.
He's just an absolutely viral guy. Like,
just
he
like
can-
running out the window.
Lord of the Virals.
Yeah,
yeah, you kind of think he's gone off the radar for like 3 months. You're like, fucking hell, is Mike just sort of faded away? And then,
And then
just,
he comes out with
you're like, no,
something.
of course he hasn't. No, he definitely hasn't.
Is he back in Bristol now? I love
Yeah,
him.
he is. He's back in Bristol. Yeah, I actually spoke to him the other day. He's good. He's okay.
Can we get him
but
on?
I mean, you have to call him. You have to nail him down. There's no way he's sitting still for this long, mate. he's a brilliant dude, man. I love Mike, and
Yeah.
and yeah, so going back to sort of like the original sort of like team, I guess it's always felt to me very much like family kind of thing. If you were to be like on the team, it's just like, I don't know. I just have a feel for who's around and who's involved. So it might, you know, you will have people who like I said, Mark Pritchard, never officially on the team, but like huge part of CAF, massive
Yeah.
part. and Tom Gibbs back, you know, in the earlier days, and the other people who were around. A guy called Pelvis who fell over and hurt his pelvis and said, "Ow, my pelvis," and then has forever now been called Pelvis. Like, you know, that him and his missus who've been around and helped out with certain things. Like, when I think of CAF, I don't think of it as like the name of the riders. I think of it as every the riders plus, you know, everything that surrounds that. So there's, it's I would hope that they would all feel like they were like a
sounds
part
like it's
of
got a lot of organic growth to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just natural organic growth, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's maybe that's just the way that I look at it. But yeah, that's definitely how it feels, and that's why, you know, why eventually like Korahn coming on board felt very like a natural thing, and yeah, hopefully it continues to have like that's what I want from companies, to have a natural feel. Obviously we've got like a new sort of almost like a V2 of the CAF team with like Dan Clark and Dom Henry, and there's people who are further afield than just from like the Bristol guys. And although there are some pretty cool people from Bristol on the team, and like Sam Nobbs, who's one of the people who goes very under the radar, but if you ever see any of his footage, it's incredible. And I'd like, if you haven't heard of him, like go check him out.
Pat.
Hey?
Is Pat on Skate Cafe?
Pat Cogs.
Yeah.
No, he goes out with Rich a lot because he's on Slam.
Yeah.
And I think he's bringing out a part like immediate, like very soon, and he's got another part with Slam. He's got a part coming out of Slam and a part coming out of one of the mags. He's got a lot of stuff on the radar. I think he has a calf board.
He's good.
He was at one of the jams skating. We did a little event at College Green with a grind block and stuff. And he was skating there, but not like, he's not officially. But again, again it goes back to like around family and very much like wanting it to be someone who's, if people are going to be on, in my opinion, they need to be around.
Just around it.
It needs to be like a natural thing, and everyone else on the team, in my opinion, needs to be like happy with that person and that they're on and stuff like that. So yeah.
Pat kind of just popped up, didn't he, at one of the Snakes events?
Yeah, I'd never heard of him before. And Rich was just like, have you seen this guy?
Yeah,
like,
we didn't hear about him.
Yeah.
And he skated that event, won some like Adidas shoes, and then he was still wearing those Adidas shoes a month later when I met him in the States.
Yeah.
Like plain white Stan Smith.
Did he break his wrist when he came out?
Picked him up from the train station, or the T, as Andy Mack said that they'll call it, which they do. Drove to a skate park and he tried to just do it straight out the van, impossible to 50-50, but slipped into lip, landed on his arm, broke his arm in two places, and I was sat in the American healthcare system with him for like 8 hours, and I've never seen anyone get their bones put back into place when they broke their arm, but like they put like a rope
traction.
and hung it round and just added weights to it, and he was going, "Oh God, oh God."
I broke my arm in two places playing football about 2 years ago, and they were just like, maybe this is UK versus US. They were just like, yeah, you don't need a cast and you don't need anything on it because
I think it depends on the break, right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. They were just literally like, I felt like I was lying because everyone was
They
like,
couldn't be asked for you.
why have you not got a cast on? You literally
Yeah.
just have to have it like that for a couple of days, and then they were like, take it off.
This was like what?
Yeah,
I
he- sticking out.
one break weight. It's like, oh,
Okay, yeah.
did I send you a picture?
No,
of
bit
it?
different,
he sent me
different
the
ball
picture
And
as
it
well.
was like, oh, it was gnarly.
I
But then-
messaged him. I was like, "You've had a bit of an accident."
And then he slept on the floor for like that night or the next 2 nights, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going back to New York now," because he came to skate with us.
He's
for
got a
days.
couple of things going on, right? Like he does.
He's a
modelling.
model
Because
now.
I have met him in the flesh only a couple of times. So,
Yeah.
Nice
you know, I
dude.
don't really feel like I should talk about him too much, but yeah, he everything I hear is super nice dude, and
He is very polite.
always like when you're saying about the fuck shoes. The funny thing is, I've got like the last text I received from Rich was, "Is Pat okay to get a pair of last resorts from the shop?" It sent me a photo of his shoes, and they are white shoes, probably not Stan Smith's, but just
melt it.
Yeah, just
Gone.
like you could see his toes through them. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, like
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
fucking. He's just sick, man. Like he dresses
Yeah,
sick.
he's a
he
rad
looks
dude.
sick.
Yeah, he's an
And
original, isn't he?
When he
So-
came
Yeah, that's
here,
what it is.
I was like on the mic for that event,
that
and I
was
was
good.
really like dishing it to him because I didn't know him, and I was just
Yeah.
like, this kid and blah blah blah. And then at the end of the event, we like got skating and talking, and I was like, you can deal with the shit when you go to an event and someone's shouting on a microphone.
yeah.
You skate good and you look good on a board, and you look
Yeah.
like someone from another galaxy's just plopped you on Earth and been like, figure that out. And he's like,
it's like, I mean, if you look at everything that I like skateboarding wise, growing up in New York, like Sean skating, blah blah, like to have this like at the CAF demo, right, or the thing that not demo, the event that we did at College Green, Bring a Block, it was like he is not anything that I would have traditionally looked at and been like fucking brilliant. He comes up, he's trying slappy crook, like
nollie heel
pressure
out.
nollie inward heel, not nollie inward heel, and I was just like, and it was raining and fucking people were just chanting his name and stuff, and I was just like, it's fucking cool to see just someone who's got that. And that's when I realised that it's authenticness that people gravitate towards. It's not like a certain thing. It's just he is authentically him.
He was probably in like cut off trousers with like a crop top on and dyed blonde hair with shaved off eyebrows. And he can four wheels down like on vertical walls if he's like rolling or dropping off.
There's a cool photo. I'll show you the photo that Rich sent me after this. It's a good one of him doing a little drop in.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Let's go on to the question we've been saving to the end.
The one that you've had on your mind all day.
Phil Sprouse said to me when I said you were coming on, he said, just talk to him about conspiracy theories. So I don't even know how you start a conversation about conspiracy.
Well, it depends what the conspiracy is, right?
Let's talk about
pyramids.
Because
there we go.
It's like
the pyramids.
What's your top 5 conspiracy theories?
Right.
Is that how you talk about it? I don't know.
Well, it's the thing, right? A lot of and as soon as a lot of people have just gone fucking closing this podcast. But for me, I'm like, even just the term. I'm like, even that is. This is how deep I go on it, right? Even the term, conspiracy theory, is used instead of something else. Call me a liar, and say that's factually incorrect. And then, if people do that, what you open yourself up to, is if you call someone a liar, and they're not a liar, you can be sued for that. But people use the term conspiracy theorist because they don't want to call you a liar and become liable, in my opinion. Okay. Obviously not you or whatever, but I think that term was coined after the JFK shooting, which I think, do you have a view on JFK shooting? No, you just don't know anything. Fair. But my opinion is that the US
that it was an inside job, yeah.
Inside, yeah.
And then they pinned it on a mule.
Lee Harvey Oswald. And so even the term conspiracy theorist, like in my opinion, that's nailed on that was an inside job. And so that term came about from that. And so even that term, I'm like, they just don't like. It's a term used to discredit people instead of a term to prove what they're saying is wrong. So like. That's what, like, even just the terms makes me go like, But I also accept that you say some wild shit and people might just be disinterested and call you a conspiracy theorist instead of just going, I'm going to listen to your shit and then call you a liar. Like, because they might just go, I don't want to talk to this, you're a conspiracy theorist. And fair enough. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a bunch, man. 9/11, all in on that being an inside job.
9/11's an inside job.
So let's talk about 9/11 then, because a lot of people say that. What is it that makes, in your eyes, an inside job?
How does a plane get destroyed and a building fall to the ground, yet passports are still found in immaculate condition?
Has Phil told you my thing?
No, that's I've looked into it myself.
So jet fuel doesn't melt steel. It doesn't, like, and you should do like a little fact check, like whether it gets hot enough to melt. Can you do a fact check? Yeah, do a fact check. Do an X if I'm wrong, or a tick if I'm right. Just like, and that's fine. And that's fine. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to look at that and go, okay, I was wrong there. But jet fuel doesn't, in theory, get, if you burn jet fuel, it doesn't get hot enough to melt a steel beam.
What temperature does steel have to be to melt?
I think it's like 2,000 degrees.
It's a lot.
And this is the sort of thing which it's quite a lot. I mean, I don't fact check that because I'm just unsure. But it doesn't get hot enough to melt steel beams. Unless it's coupled with things like, whilst it's on fire, like thermite, which was found in the buildings, which is, a lot of people see a famous clip, and there's the building, and there's just this shit spewing out of it. And it was on fire. The buildings were on fire for weeks afterwards. I don't know if people know that. There was still fires going for weeks after. And that was because thermite was found. And that's something that is just causes steel beams to actually melt. So you couldn't melt a steel beam with a plane crashing into it. That's not how hot it gets. So that's one thing. But also couple that with it's
Finding
supposed to have
documents.
melted a steel beam, but not a passport that was found blocks away. And then the other things are, there's so many things, but there's a BBC reporter who was filmed talking about the fact that Building 7 had been destroyed and had been had fallen down, and the buildings in the background, and it hadn't even happened yet.
Oh, can we see that? Can you find that clip?
There's also
I want to see that.
Yeah.
I've never seen that
don't
one.
play it with audio because but there's also something.
I've never seen that.
was it?
So there's that, and also there is
an insurance policy was taken out a week,
there's so much to do with
before the actual attack.
Yeah, even
like
going to the company, the company who had the contracts to deal with all the elevator shafts, which are conveniently pinned where and obviously in the corners of the building.
Yeah.
The people who were supposed to get the contracted work from the Twin Towers didn't get the contracted work. It was from a different company, which it aroused suspicion with some people, whatever, because it wasn't it wasn't supposed to happen that way. Yeah, their insurance things, where the policy where the guy brought on the buildings and then took an insurance policy out against terrorist attacks like a couple of months before.
And
I
think the front cover of the policy as well has the Twin Towers, and there's two like aims on it, like a
Crosshairs.
so like a sniper
See, he
aim.
knows more than me.
And I've read into all of that stuff.
But so all of this, and there is a lot more around it as well. It's not like I'm not going to just reel off. That's a couple of good little facts that will sort of plant a seed maybe, and couple that up with Operation Northwards, and that was I can't remember if it was FBI or CIA. If you even Google will come back with this. Operation Northwards was a plan to fly remote control. So whether we're all thinking drone technology is fairly new. Back in '62, I think it was. They had I think it was '62. They had a plan to fly aeroplanes into US buildings and blame it on the Cubans to go into war with the Cubans. So and that was that is all open. Like, that's not a conspiracy. There's factual. You can find it. It's on it's US government documents that have been released. And so if they're willing to admit that back then, that they were planning on doing that, and JFK was one of the ones that put the stop to that, I believe. Can't remember if it was him, but that was around about his time, I believe. And then he's offed. And then years later, this thing happens where people do fly planes into buildings, and it's an incredibly suspicious thing that happens. Like, those buildings fell at free fall speed or near to free fall speed, which should not happen. If you fly into something like that, it doesn't then just drop like that. It's not how it works, and it doesn't drop at a speed that it would just, free fall speed is the thing, where it just goes down. It should have some level of resistance with steel. So
It's
for
only
me,
organised-
that's nailed on.
it's
Like,
only
a lot of those things.
It's only apparently organised detonations that make a building fall downwards and in on itself.
Did you
that's
see the
because of
clips
the
about the
thermite,
people at the bottom as well?
Yeah.
There's video clips of people saying we've heard multiple explosions from the lobby.
Yeah.
Loads of people said it was explosions way before, like it
I
wasn't
think
the plane.
a janitor
explosions.
or someone was interviewed about it, saying that he found
Yeah.
stuff in toilets.
Yeah. There was a lot of
It's fucking
there was
crazy,
a lot
isn't
of
it?
a lot of funny stuff, and then when you see the wreckage as well, and obviously people could say, you could say like, oh, it's a building collapsed down. Of course, you're not gonna, you're gonna have different levels of damage to the steel beams, but some of the steel beams were cut like a straight line,
Perfect.
a straight line, which is what you do. Well, not a straight line actually; it's a diagonal line, because then the building slips and falls. And that's what would cause free fall speed, coupled with the damage and coupled with the thermite. That's what would cause free fall speed. Anyway, that's one. There is a lot of things, especially if you go by the sort of things that you saw on the news, you would think, yeah, okay, this is what's happened, this is what's happened. And if you listen to the people that were on the very bottom in the like actually in the lobby, they all said there's multiple explosions coming from like next to them, like around them. Like, there's firefighters who've given like testimony to say there's explosions going on, and people could say that was stuff coming from. It's not coming down like 90 floors and exploding. Like, it's not. Like, that is people who have heard explosives going off, and that's what they have said. It is like, and that could have been Al Qaeda, but you know, like, what happened to that? You suspect the towers thing, and then you're like, okay, maybe it's not that. But then to use the towers as a like pre-thing to go to war with another country because they've got weapons of mass destruction which they did and then don't have, that's when I start to be like, what the fuck's going on, dude? Like, what is, like, and I don't have to present like this, not to you, and I'm not saying to you, but I don't have to present this like well thought out fact of like from A to B to Z. But what I can say is, like, I look at these things and I don't think that looks right to me. That looks fishy.
There's a lot of inconsistencies with the stories,
Because and there's a lot of inconsistencies, and there's a lot of, like, you know, for people to flat out say they would never do that. Operation Northwood, they literally planned it 50 years before. Like, this was already a thing. Like, so the towers is one thing for me that, you know, led on to this whole lust for war in the Middle East, to destabilize it, to create exactly what you have going on right now over in the Middle East, Israel-Palestine thing. That whole region is being destabilized, and for what reason I don't know, but like, and I don't have to present that. I just know that those towers shouldn't fall like that. There shouldn't be a woman saying that a building is fallen down and it's stood up behind her and then falls down.
Can we see that clip? So I want to see this now.
Type in, was it Building 7?
Building 7, yeah.
Type in BBC News Building 7 or something.
Oh, this is the thing. I don't know if it's going to come up on Google.
So
it's
was
perfect on YouTube.
Was this put out on TV?
Yes. Yeah, it was live on BBC. Yeah. It was live on BBC. I remember
watching it, and there's an arrow in the background pointing like, well, the building.
So this is the thing. As soon as you Google it, this is the thing, right? It comes up with fun facts and a lot of fact things. But like, the fact of it is, like, whether they sort of like try and be like, here's a fact, this is, the conspiracy is this, and put a real big conspiracy and go on, and they're like, but that isn't true. But the truth is, the building's in the background, she's saying it's fallen down, and it's there, and then 20 minutes later, or 44 minutes later or something it falls down. And they'll try and like spin it a different way, or put a fact check website with some irrelevant fact check on it, but the building's in the background, and then it falls down after she said about it.
So do you think then it was there was bombs rigged up throughout the whole building, and they probably wanted it to come down sooner?
Well, do you know what? Judging by, like, initially, I didn't think that there was bombs in the building. I thought it was just done internally. Like, I didn't really know or understand. Initially, I was like, there's something up with that. What is it? But then when I hear the testimony of the people who were there, and everyone who was underneath it was like, there was multiple explosions. Like, I'm not going to disregard that just because the newspaper says that it was terrorists and it was just the plane. I'm not going to ignore the people who were there, who were living it, you know? But that's the thing, because, like, to be honest, dude, because it's suppressed. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but like, you should be able to Google is an amazing tool. It's
sometimes.
Always. It's incredible. And so to be able to do this and be like, BBC, 9/11, reporter, Building 7, and you can't find it, that is being suppressed. If I was to Google Toby Batchelor skateboarding, it's going to come up with your skateboarding, which is a far more obscure and, sorry Toby, less searched term than what we're talking about here. So
I wonder, like, if what we're talking about now, and amongst all these other conspiracy theories, I wonder whether we will ever find out if it will come out in 100, 200 years from now.
Well, that's the truth is, like, it's whoever, and am I right to send you that link and then just because otherwise I sound like an idiot who rambles and doesn't back it up.
I've seen that. Is it a woman report?
Yeah, it's a woman report. I think she's wearing red, and I'll send it to you. And dude, I don't know, but what I do know is whoever wins the sort of like information war wins the war, right? Like, that's how it works. You can manipulate people in all sorts of ways, and hey, maybe I'm even doing it now to try and get people to believe that all sorts of things that aren't real. But I just know that a passport doesn't survive something that still
2,000 degrees.
That's something that still doesn't, and then gets found. That was one of the hijackers' passports found miles. That doesn't add up. I listened to the people in the building, all those things, and so whatever the factual thing is, I'm not saying I know that this is what it is, But I know that though that happened, which led to a war in the Middle East, which destabilized that region, which killed millions of people off the back of that.
Mm-hmm.
And why? That's not up for me to say. I'm just saying like that is what I'm just saying I'm not going to present something that I don't think is factually correct or like plausible. But I just question all those things and the moon landing, stuff like that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like bullshit.
I think the
Bullshit.
video. I think one of the videos I seen about 9/11 is it's someone like handycam filming near the bottom, and there's people running out, and there's people on the phones going, "There's bombs in the building."
Yeah,
that's one that I saw. If you're on about the one from ground level where there's people,
you're gonna get a YouTube demonetized right now.
Probably will.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's how you get things like, you know, you're searching like that's a pretty like that thing has been searched, I guarantee, millions of times. That thing it's not coming up on Google, and then they demonetize people on YouTube. It's a whether you want to admit it or whether I wish that I didn't see these things, and I wish that I could go to work, look after my kids, and not pay attention to it. But I think once you see it, and then you realize, I got kids, and that's your and like, or whatever the thing is, and you're like, that's not right, that's not true. And then when you start to see that, and you start to look into it further, and then you spend all evening till 2 a.m. because you can't sleep looking at it, it is concerning. And there is a lot of things that start to like, if I wouldn't have seen the thing about Operation Northwoods, I'd be like, that's fucking suspicious, and I don't want to believe it. But all these facts are kind of saying otherwise. But then the fact that they've got it there, that they were planning on doing it to go justify war with Cuba, and then they did go to war with Cuba anyway based off of other bullshit, I'm like, kind of says that they're capable of it and would do it. And do I honestly think that the US or the UK government have my best interest at heart, or yours, or any of us?
Nah.
Of course not. So what's the, you know, that's where, I'm just like, no, I don't believe it. The moon landing is a big one for me, where I'm like,
so it didn't happen.
I mean, name one technology that has got worse since the 60s. I mean, aerospace, like literally going to the moon.
Yeah, I guess
with 1968 or whatever it was, like was the last, or 69 was the last time we went to the moon, apparently. Well, you don't think like there's an industry there for moon travel, to be able to go to the moon. And there's so many things that, like the shadows on the video were from artificial light, because obviously, you know, with your lights here, that if you shine, if you have natural light, there's only one, one
light source.
Yeah. But the shadows on the photos and the videos from the moon landing are multiple light sources, which obviously just doesn't make sense.
I've actually never looked too much into the moon one myself. I never really looked too much into it.
Yeah.
Like,
beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff. There's the Van Allen radiation belts that are up there, so you can't, like a human can't get through that, and it's something like 2,000 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously very difficult to get through that, and even Musk's rockets haven't gone that far. This obviously the great technology to be able to take off standing still in theory, but like, and be able to land it back. But look, we go on holiday to fucking all sorts of, think of the weird places you can get an EasyJet flight to, and people will pay money for it, and we're saying that people can go to the moon, but we just haven't gone to the moon since then. I don't know, I just don't believe it.
Would you go to the moon if it was offered on that? Well, that was quick.
You'd have a dicky tummy on the way out, wouldn't you?
You've got to convince me to leave the country. You've got to convince me to leave the house.
I think if it was offered, I'd do it straight away. I'd just have to see it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So there's got to be, think of all these people, right, with all the money that people have, and all the weird and useless ways that they spend it, and want to entertain themselves whilst they're here.
The guy with the submarine.
Of course, the guy with the submarine. So that guy, he's going to be so keen on going to the fucking moon, right? Like, but he can't, because you can't. Like,
yeah.
And otherwise he would be paying millions or billions to go up there. And just to see that, I'm like, okay, that for me, that technology has either got worse or we never had it in the first place. And they say that it was destroyed. Like, I don't know if you know that, but they say that it was kept in NASA storage and then it was destroyed, and no one knows where it went, and no one knows where, you know, how we can recreate these rockets to go to the moon. I just don't know if that is, I just don't believe that.
Are there any other conspiracy theories that people should know about?
I don't know.
That people could go down a real deep...
There's...
Read about the pyramids.
The pyramid one's cool. Like I like that as a... Like, Graham Hancock does a lot of... Have you ever heard of his documentaries? Yeah. He does a lot of good stuff with, like, ancient apocalypse and all these things where he sort of talks about how he thinks that the timeline is. And I personally believe that humans are a lot older than what is sort of perceived. And I think we've had abilities to do certain things. You only have to look at where the pyramids are, and that they, you know, the measurements of the pyramids and what they align with, to see that there potentially is some reasoning, or there's potentially some knowledge there of the solar system, or, you know, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, you know, aliens fucking built it or whatever. I'm just saying there was some knowledge of the solar system. In which case, how?
Did he write something about the point of a certain pyramid around the opposite side of the world meets perfectly a line with, like, if you were to draw a line straight around the world, they meet tip to tip.
Yeah.
So,
Or you can get onto another one of along the world. Yeah. Not around it, but I'm not. Don't worry, that's not me yet. I'm not there yet on the flat one.
I've just seen loads of it. Like, the pyramids were built as a diamond shape, or they're built underground first and built from the ground up from being underground.
So I look into a lot of shit and whatever, and this is not one that I'm like pushing. I'm not, like, I will say 9/11. I think that's bullshit, and I think the moon landing was bullshit, and I don't think slaves built the pyramids. But what I will say is, like, with that, there must be a reason. They're not going to just do that. I personally believe that humanness, that some form of humans has had technology that is different to ours, using light. And you know, if you look, what they've done to the pyramids is they've taken all the limestone off the sides, because it was completely covered in limestone, which and had gold tops. And the thought is that could have been a power source. And I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying that's a plausibility using the materials that they had. And would obviously explain, if they had another power source, that how it was built, because I don't believe that it was built by hand. You just have to look at the size of them and how many tons that thing weighs, and you couldn't do it now, let alone then. So I just think that. So I'm just intrigued, and my thing is not as much a conspiracy thing; it's more of a wonder thing. You know, it's not like.
So if it had gold on top and lime down the sides. Lime is a really good reflector, isn't it?
Yes.
So then they were probably using sunlight or light, a light source, and then the gold is a conductor.
Yes.
So
the theory is that they're actually the theory behind it is that it's almost like a power station.
Yeah.
And that it links up with ones in other places, because that's the location of it is the location of the speed of light or something like that. It's like the exact speed of light is the. I don't know. So again, it's not one that I'm like deeply into.
Is it a time machine? Were they using planet Earth as a time machine?
So there is. Have you seen these?
That makes sense.
So apparently, there's a batshit one. Let's go. I don't want to bore you for ages with it, but mention the time travel to me after. So basically, I believe that there's a bit of thing where you can use light, and this is true because we know that any sort of you can use light for power. We know that with solar power. So that's plausible. There's something there which potentially could have been used to make the pyramids. So I'm interested in that, and I want to know more. And the same thing as 9/11. I want to learn more, because I don't believe that it's quite as cut and dry, and it's not necessarily conspiracy things, but it's just like the wrongful conviction thing that I was saying about. I'm just interested in knowing more about a lot of subjects, and I don't like sleeping too much. So I'm going to look into this shit, and I'm going to kind of join this nerdy Reddit group and research about this murder or this case or whatever it is, and just look into it, because I just enjoy doing that. And so to go, what was it I said about the
time machine? Light
time machine. Have you seen? This is fucking batshit, and it involves the Donald. Have you seen the book Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventure?
No.
Can you look up this It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Yeah, that's it. Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. Right, so when's this book? When the fuck was it written? It's like written in 1893. And it's written about someone called Baron Trump. And
Isn't that the name of his son now? Trump.
Yes, and guess who his mentor is? Someone called Don in the book. Pretty kind of weird. And do you know what the book's about? The next book on from this is called The Last President, and this book is about time travel through portals in Russia. And Donald Trump, his uncle, owned the fucking building that Nikola Tesla rented when he died, who apparently he cracked time travel. And guess who the first person was in the room after he died and to clear his stuff out? John Trump. I think it's John Trump. Anyway, so he cleared out apparently Tesla had cracked time travel. One of the fucking Trumps had fucking cleared out his room and cleared out all of his shit. And there's this weird book that's named after Trump's son, and his mentor is called Don fucking Trump. And you're like, what the fuck is this? That's where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So no, I don't know about time travel, but I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, what is this? Like, that's what makes
that's just a lot of coincidences, right?
That's a lot of coincidences, though, and that's the thing. Like, I could go, right, that's a lot of coincidences, but my mind goes, that's too many coincidences, man. Like, that's what my mind does, and I've just got an inquisitive mind, I think, and like I like it because it like entertains me. Do you know what I mean? It keeps me fucking awake, but stuff like that, I'm like, that's bizarre, right? No, like,
yes.
And there are actually, so to go on to the time travel thing, there are actually things that people, again, I don't say this, I'm just like, because I don't look into this side of things because I'm just like, whatever. But there are apparently portals, which used to be like stone portals, which were used for time travel. I don't believe that. I'm not saying that that's me, but I'm just saying that is apparently a thing where the last portal for time travel was in Russia or something like that. Again, don't look into it and don't fact check me on that. That's not my thing. I'm not looking into that. But that book is fucking odd to me. And I'm like, the next book, I believe, by the same person, could be wrong, but it's something like The Last President, which is kind of weird considering, you know, the names used and the current situation. Mm-hmm. I just think my mind just looks at a lot of stuff and goes odd. But yeah, so that's my conspiracy things. Like there's a lot of things. There's loads more. You can go into endless shit and you can go into rabbit holes. And that's what I do. I guess that's what I like to. You know, I like to look at it. And
I read one about where, what's the quickest way to put it? Someone, or some people, or people somewhere reckon that where we are right now on Earth has happened. And then a catastrophic event happens.
Yeah.
And then we just rebuild and we find all of this stuff from the past and we're like, how did they make this? And then 1,000 years later we make it, and then a catastrophic event happens again and we're forced to go. So
that's what Graham Hancock's saying.
Humankind just keeps going round on itself. Yeah. And so when you see all these caveman drawings, it's like it's because, I don't know, people survive or whatnot, and they've got nothing to use. They've got no pen and paper, but they remember it, so they scratch it in with rock on rock, and that's where all these caveman drawing comes from.
So that's a lot of the Egypt stuff and the stuff with the pyramids, is that a lot of the symbols used in Egypt are the same ones that are used all over the world. So it's like something had to travel.
Yeah.
Or it's a fucking big coincidence that all these same built structures or similarly built structures that are impossible to explain how they've been built have used the same symbolism and the same characters as well. There's a lot of characters that are the same within each of these like stories that are told, and they're used in Turkey or they're used in Egypt or wherever the fuck it is. So it's a long distance to travel, one that's unexplainable with our current theory of things. So it just interests me, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's more interesting to me than a lot of the shit, you know. Like a lot of I'd rather watch that than go and stick on a fucking, I don't know, some other series, like, you know. just like piddle away. I'd rather look into that stuff.
What's
You're a flat earther, aren't you?
No, absolutely not. What's some good websites to start getting nerdy about conspiracy theories? I'm asking for a friend.
I don't. I don't really go onto any websites and look it up.
Is it on the dark web?
Yeah.
And did you see that Trump released got pardoned for the guy that did, was it WikiLeaks as well?
Yeah, that's like, you know, and this is the thing, like, is when it was like pre-election, I was annoying the guys in work with a MAGA hat. So like,
I've seen someone wearing one in Audi. Like,
yeah. But the thing for me is policy, and it comes down to that. Like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange released information that was given to them publicly as a news thing. That's not illegal. Even if that information is stolen, it's not illegal for them to publish it. It's illegal for the person to steal it, but it's not illegal for them to publish. And they published war crimes, things that were horrific happening to Iraqis and happening to Afghanis and all that stuff. And it seems like, to me, no one gave a fuck for some reason that they were in prison or that stuff was happening to them. And they just were left to like rot there for years. And that's where people have to say, like, take your hat off, take your fucking shit away. That's a good thing. They shouldn't be in jail. They are bringing, here's a good quote, they're bringing light to truth. You know, they're showing it as it should be, and they're holding people accountable, and people didn't like them doing that, so they put them in a cell. And couple that with your Google searches not coming up, with your YouTube demonetization. I just think that there's something bigger at play. What it is, I don't know, and I don't pretend to know. But it just doesn't smell right to me. And yeah, so stuff like that. Those people, and you just have to look at, you know, the people that get pardoned from both sides to see what's going on. You know, Joe Biden pardoning Fauci for a span of 10 years, or Hunter Biden for a span of 10 years. He's pardoned his son.
Oh, who's got all the sketchy shit against him?
Yeah, because he was dealing with energy companies in Ukraine, and look what's happened to Ukraine. And
something like 47 pages of like.
It's very, very odd, and then it's the same the other side. It's, you know, it's the same both sides. But it just doesn't sit right with me. So my mind just like does all this shit and end up spouting bollocks to you guys for half an hour about it all. But I really enjoy. Like I said, I really enjoy looking into those things. I'd rather enjoy looking into those things than I would sitting at home and watching
Skins. Season 1.
Yeah, I'd watch that. But no, yeah. But so that's it. And and I know it annoys some people and it riles some people up, and some people think it's all believable and some people think it's not. I'd rather just focus on, like, it is something fishy. Is there more to it?
Well, I think you have to be oblivious to think that something is not fishy in the world. You give someone power and they can get away with it. Then
what you have to believe is that
people aren't inherently good.
There's a fucking brilliant. There's a couple of good comedians actually. Instead of looking at a website, look up George Carlin. He's a brilliant comedian. He took piss out of this. He fucking died. And also there's another comedian who says, his bit is something along the lines of, you don't believe in any conspiracy theories? That sounds like a strong stance to take, like almost like a conspiracy theory. You know, there's got to be something that's covered up, because I shouldn't know everything, like, for sure. Like, you know, you hide some stuff from me, like, yes, fine, but like, what is being hidden? And it's okay to go looking for that and to go questioning it when stuff doesn't add up. And I think sometimes it's easy to brush it off by saying conspiracy theorist, rather than, especially in the US. And the reason why a lot of people focus on the US is because the dollar's the world reserve currency. It affects everything. You know, we buy in dollars, you probably buy in dollars. It affects everything. So it's a big thing. So instead, in the US, instead of calling someone a conspiracy theorist, call someone a liar and then stand it in court. But they won't do that, because then they've got to hold themselves accountable and present the truth, like Snowden, like Assange. And if you then get put on a stand and you have to release documents, you've got to back up that they are a liar. And if you can't do that, you're fucked. So that's why I think the term conspiracy theorist was brought around, and why I think is just widely used today to just be like, it's
kind
a
of like a
smear. It's like
debunking
conspiracy
thing, isn't it?
theorists,
Yeah.
right wing, this, that. And it's like, yeah, but let's focus on what we were talking about though. Let's come back to this, because as much as I'm a conspiracy theorist, those beams don't melt, dude. Like they don't. And that passport should have if the beams did.
Yeah.
So less, you know, that like it's a good distraction technique. So it works for a lot of people, but and also, like I said, I would much rather not think about that stuff and just have a lot. And I'm not saying this as disrespect to anyone who doesn't look at this stuff. But my personal thing is, I'd rather be the fucking thing in a Disney film with like birds flying around, like that. I'd much rather be that to go into it. So I wish I didn't have it, and I wish I didn't look into it, and I wish I could sit here and be like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, fuck off. Like, but I wish I didn't think about it.
Well, I know what I'm going to be doing tonight from
Yeah, I was
probably
thinking
11:30.
And that probably explains why I don't sleep. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, fucking.
I was just thinking, I want to watch more about the pyramids. Like, what if, one pyramid was housing energy from the sun, and that was a portal to another pyramid on the opposite side of the
I think
time travel.
I think I don't know, obviously, because it's not, I wasn't involved in that. But probably,
I think you were.
But probably the points of reference that whoever built the pyramids.
How big is the stone of a pyramid?
Hang on, wait. The points of reference,
It's
and I'm not
tons.
talking about physical size reference points. I'm just talking about their mental points of reference when they were built are completely different to our points of reference now.
Yeah.
That us trying to understand how that works is because we're not on that level.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Frequency, and our reference points are completely skewed and different to what was happening then. So
I don't want to keep going back into stuff, but I will.
Yeah.
So just cut me off.
I don't
and
want
end
to,
it here.
but I will.
But so if you look at a lot of the old buildings, there's so much intricate shit, so fucking high up that some of the stuff that I've been looking at and watching recently is how they might have harnessed light for lasers to be able to engrave, like much how we do 3D printing now. Basically, an olden time 3D printing, that it wasn't fucking carpenters risking their life endlessly and one falls off and another one comes up and just chips it away, but that actually it was etched, printed in like 3D print, exactly how a 3D printer works now. It just lasers like and carves out those things. There's a lot of stuff like that, which again I've only just started looking at that the last couple of days because I was like, oh, that's interesting, but and decided to kind of pick that up. But if you watch something, watch that, especially for what you're saying, that Ancient Apocalypse. He's got 2 series, Graham Hancock, that's a good thing. The moon thing, there's this absolutely batshit guy, but he's brilliant, and I think he used to work at NASA actually, and he's somewhat like Sibrel or something like that. He's a good one to listen to. But it's just a case of like, do you know what? I don't even know half of where you find it. You're just like, oh my god, yeah, that's.
you stumble across stuff.
Yeah, you just stumble across it because you're not, like I said, you'll search on Google and you won't find it, and you sort of stumble across it. And me and Harry from CAF just end up sending each other these fucking wild shit backwards and forwards.
That's the nice sound of this.
It's quite nice, man. But it's a nice little hobby.
Yeah.
Fun little hobby. Anyway,
Should we?
Have you got any theories that you want to sign off on?
Princess Di, that's another good one.
No, but I do what I was saying about then. I think, the way that we are as humans now and our thought patterns and processes are so different to understanding what's going on. And it was different then and will be different in the future. And I think, the reason we don't have time machines and things is probably because we're not thinking in the right frequency or some sort of understanding.
I think it's probably just as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, if you have fucking, I think that we've got a lot of fucking shit technology.
Look at batteries.
Yeah.
Fucking shit, they ain't changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, Duracells are still Duracells. Like, car batteries to make electric cars, we're like 30 years behind, didn't we? Like, come on, if you want an electric car to be worthwhile, for a start, it's got to have longer range and not weigh a fucking ton. Why have we not done anything about that? Oil companies.
There you go.
They don't want us.
Oh my god. Everything you say could lead me on to another one. Let's not do it. But There's a
No,
good.
what
There's a
about the
good.
oil
I won't go into it, but there's a thing that the term fossil fuel was coined by the Rockefellers because they wanted to make it seem scarce, but actually that it naturally produces. The oil is naturally producing, and it's not because of fossils. It is actually a naturally producing thing that's just kind of endless. That's another one which I again haven't looked into, but I'm just gonna leave that one with you. That it's actually not half as scarce as we believe it to be, and actually, if you look into the numbers of how much oil gets used every year, times that by fucking however many years there are, that's a lot of fucking oil. And yeah, then it has to kind of almost keep going, otherwise. I mean, like water, I guess. Like it does. You drill down and there's water.
I read something yesterday. They're saying that the shape of the Earth's core has changed slightly. Have you read that?
Yeah.
So
and that Russia's going to become an Iceland because it's of the way that Earth's spinning and stuff like that. Yeah, I did read that. Yeah, but that's like stuff like that is what I look into, and probably why I can't sleep and why I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, I just enjoy being up. I'm actually just fucking wired to shit. But yeah, it's
Let's wrap it up before we go down any other rabbit holes.
Right, on that note then, yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks guys.
In.
Yeah, it's fucking.
I feel like
fun.
Wicked what you guys do.
I feel like I'm going to send you some messages for some good video links, but
just don't do it, man.
But let's but yeah,
be smart. Don't start.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's exactly.
I'm going to let you sign that one off with that.
Is that it? Are we done?